I've never done this before. Oh, dang, son. We're going live. We're live, boys. There's a lag. So you got to just like bear with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
That's fine. And oh, geez, I can see myself.
I know. It's kind of
1,000 times.
Oh, this lag is like really bad. It's going to be a couple seconds of lag. Dang. That's fine. Whatever. Who cares? Okay. So I'm going to have it on OBS for now, and then we'll flip back to the chat when we're not live.
I have the chat pulled up just in case I have any Tobey supporters in the audience.
Oh, you have the chat pulled up. Perfect. I might have the chat pulled up too. I think, you know what? I'm going to have
Not
stupid.
7.
It's not 7. Yeah, I should do an intro for this. I mean, this is a podcast. This is going to go up in audio format on Monday, so I should do an intro. So let me just do that real quick. Wow, you guys get to see the behind the scenes, the live, what happens, you know, underneath everything else. Okay. Let me get in the zone real quick. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this 17th episode of the Closers Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Alvarado, in the Spidey suit. Next to me is Jake Jonah Jameson Phillips.
Barker!
And we're here today to argue and debate on who is better, Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire. And, you know, I think we're going to get we're going to have a very interesting episode. I really don't know how long we're going to go. The Wi-Fi is acting very, very good right now. So we might be able to go for a while. So before we get into the discussion at hand, I think the most important thing we do is let everybody know that we are actually live now. So give me 1 second while we do that, and then we will begin the festivities. So give me one moment if everybody could.
It took us a minute to get this up.
Hello, we're live now. So go to our go to the Instagram bio, click on the link, and you should see us live. Please join. It feels great that we're finally up.
Howdy.
Okay, so that's that. All right, cool. That's fine. Most people follow us on Instagram. If you know anybody who would be interested in this stream, share the link. Share the link. Show them that we're going to be debating our little hearts out here for our guys. But yeah, so without any further ado, Jake, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good.
Ready to get your butt whooped in this debate on the best Spider-Man live action?
No, because I think you're going to get your butt whooped, honestly.
That's a bold claim coming from a Tom Holland fan.
I mean, it's bold just because it's the truth. Before we begin getting into, like, arguments and stuff, I think the best course of action would be why we're not talking about Andrew Garfield or Miles Morales. I feel like the most relevant Spider-Man right now, personally, and this might not be correct, we could argue that later, but I feel like the two most, the ones that matter right now are Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. Just because Tobey's the first one, he will always matter. But Tom Holland is the current Spider-Man. So, and Miles Morales just doesn't get the respect that he deserves. He does deserve respect, but he doesn't get that respect in pop culture. Not a lot of people saw that movie. It's the least grossing Spider-Man movie of all time. So,
which is interesting because I think it's the best Spider-Man.
And I agree with you. It is a fantastic film. Anybody that doesn't like animation is a fool for not going and seeing that movie and making sure that they also are watching it.
It's on Netflix. Go watch it if you haven't.
Yes.
After the stream.
Yes, go watch it. Go watch it. And if, later on, this will be up in audio format on Monday. So everybody that just kind of wants to, like, go do other stuff, you're a fool, first of all. But if you're that much of a fool that you'd rather do other things than listen to us banter about nerdy shit,
you've probably got a good head on your shoulders.
Yeah, I would say that. But also, it will be up for you on Monday if you want to just listen to us rant. So, Jake, you like Tom Holland. Or not, no, you don't. You like Tobey Maguire, I'm sorry.
I mean, I like Tom Holland. Disclaimer before my whole argument. I think Tom Holland is a great Spider-Man. He's just not the best live-action Spider-Man. I love his movies.
Yeah.
And I love him in the MCU.
Yeah.
It's just Tobey Maguire is the better Spider-Man in the live-action movies. And I will be arguing that today.
And I respect Tobey Maguire, how he paved the way for the rest of just
The
superhero
MCU.
movies. Not even that. I would go as far as just superhero movies in general. If it wasn't for him, superhero movies as we see them today, would not exist in their, entirety as they are as at the moment in this modern landscape of pop culture. So do I love Tobey Maguire? Yes. Do I respect his performances? Yes. As much as I talk shit on him, a lot of that's for the meme. To be completely real, I got love for him still, even though those movies are not as good as people think they are. Okay. But I just got to say, I got respect for him. So let's see. Okay. All right. We're good. So, Jake, I think you and I agreed that we would start movie by movie.
Yes.
Pick apart each movie and the Spider-Man performances in each movie, and then we would continue. Are you ready for that? Are you okay with that?
And are we going Toby Tom, or Toby Tom?
We could see what the people listening think. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
I'm fine with that. Let's look at.
Might be a little bit of lag.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lag, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit, but we can see what people want. What do you guys want?
Feel free to drop in chat if you're a part of chat.
Yeah, if you're a part of chat, just let us know. How do you want us to do it? Toby, Tom, Toby, Tom, Toby, or Toby, Tom. Literally, we're gonna go with the first person that comments, because we don't have enough time. We don't have time. So,
I don't know how to chat on this. I'm not gonna lie to you.
oh, you don't know how to see the chat?
Yeah. Oh, live chat. That makes more sense.
Okay.
So I could be the first commenter, but I'm gonna leave it up to one of you lucky viewers.
Yep.
Matt, if you're here, support the Toby cause.
Gavin, I know you're out there. I know you're watching this right now, and I need for you to comment. Toby, Tom, Toby. I need you to do that, Gavin.
We'll go with that if there's not another comment in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm down for that. Didn't go up until right now because literally yesterday I was testing everything out, making sure everything was good to go. And it was working fine. Everything was working fine. Literally everything. But today I opened all the programs I needed to in order to do this live stream, and nothing was working. Nothing. Everything crashed. Only the programs that Toby, Tom.
Interesting format.
I don't know. Why would you do that?
Though.
Why would you do this?
So,
oh no.
I'm gonna cut all your movies in half with a Toby triple take.
No. Why would you do this, Mom?
Actually, it only says
that's
Toby,
my mom too.
It's only Toby, Tom. So does 3 go after Far From Home?
That's such a weird way to do it. I don't.
All three in the middle. Let's do it.
So you want to start with Tom, then the 3, and then Tom. Oh fuck. Okay. All
See
right.
if your argument can withstand three Sam Raimi masterpieces.
All right, fine. We'll start with Homecoming. Okay, fine. I'm prepared. Okay, so where should I start? Opening statements.
The trash.
Opening statements. Tom Holland was an unknown actor before his time as Spider-Man. Relatively unknown. That, to me, lent himself to portraying Spider-Man the best he could because there were absolutely no expectations going into him and his role or his rendition as the web slinger. That only helped him because he was able to craft and really study the what it meant to be Spider-Man, whereas Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, they were kind of more so by their agents, like asked to be in the role, and they were just like pushed into it, as opposed to like Tom Holland really he was given time to, Marvel put him in an actual New York high school to be able to like get a feel for how it is to be a high schooler in America, in New York specifically. The MCU and Kevin Feige and that whole studio pulled out all the stops in order for Tom Holland to be successful as Spider-Man, and that really shows within Homecoming, specifically because of his accent. Not just that, but also because he actually feels like a high schooler. When you watch him on screen, all the kids are actually that age. They all are portrayed very well, and it's overall, we can get into specifics, and I will get into specifics soon. But just as a general statement, it is a fun movie to watch. When you watch it, the villain, Vulture, played by, what's his name? Kevin... I want to say Kevin Costner. It's not Kevin Costner. It's obviously not Kevin Costner. But Michael Keaton. Played by Michael Keaton. The backstory from him makes a lot of sense given the universe that this whole story takes place in. Now, I will jump the gun. And I will dare to jump the gun first. Because this is a debate. And I can do whatever I want. And I'm going to jump the gun and say, yes. Does Iron Man factor a lot in this movie? Homecoming, yes. But if you were 15 and you were a Spider-Man, and you had guidance from a other superhero, not just another superhero, but the superhero, the one that started it all, wouldn't you also not really know exactly how to go about being a hero, needing help, needing assistance? That is part of what Spider-Man is. He's a younger person that is getting into the MCU. He's not a finished product. He's not mature in any capacity. He's not mature. So when you're watching this movie through that lens, and you see Iron Man save Spider-Man from the boat, and you see Iron Man's technology help Spider-Man throughout everything, yes, it makes sense. Because if Sam Raimi was given the rights to those characters too, he probably would have done the same thing to a degree. Because this iteration of Spider-Man, or just Spider-Man in general, is a younger kid within the whole universe. So because of that, I feel like Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie that we have out now that stays true to the character. Now, is it the best movie that has Spider-Man in it? No, because we said Into the Spider-Verse is. But the best Spider-Man movie that portrays the entity and the characteristics of Spider-Man and who he is. And it got Stan Lee's stamp of approval before he passed away. Tom Holland said, or he said that Tom Holland was almost exactly what he was envisioning while he was creating the character. With all that being said, that is why I feel like Homecoming is the best and most accurate representation of Spider-Man, and why Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. And also because he's the most fun. Because he's not constantly trying to cry. Or getting shit on by literally everybody. Everyone in the universe. So that's all I'm going to say. Right. And now I'll leave the floor open to you, Jake.
Rebuttal period. I'm going to go off that last comment. Because getting shit on by everyone, that's what Tom Holland does most of that movie. Every fight scene gets slapped. He gets bitched out by a guy with no powers, Aaron Davis, Miles Morales' uncle, rumored. Well, yeah, he gets bitched out by slamming a car trunk. When he is supposed to already have been Spider-Man for a while, before Infinity War, fought in Infinity War against Captain America and other heroes, and then he goes back to New York and gets bitched out and beat up.
Yeah.
A lot of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anyone gets quite beat up more than Andrew Garfield than Tom Holland. But Andrew Garfield gets beat up by the whole world for being the worst live action.
Well, yeah, he's if you want to say, I'll gladly admit, if I'm making fun of Tobey Maguire for being sad, Andrew Garfield is more sad, I would say.
And
sorry, Carlitos.
I'll admit, the Tobey movies have a lot more of a somber feel to them.
Yes.
But Tom Holland's Spider-Man Homecoming, it just tries too hard to be funny all the time. Like, every scene has to have a joke in it. Or
Really?
It's Iron Man yelling at Spider-Man. That is the entire thing. And even while Iron Man's yelling at Tom, there's jokes in it. And I understand the MCU has to be funnier most of the time because it's a funny universe. Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok brought a lot of humor into the MCU, which performed very well.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man isn't always... Spider-Man is funny because of his quips. Yes. Spider-Man is funny because of what he does when he's fighting.
Yes.
Spider-Man isn't supposed to be cracking jokes at every misfortune that's happening, including on the boat, including up in the air when he's like plummeting towards death. He just enough quips in Tobey's. But the entire...
And his delivery sucks, but yeah.
How dare you? The entire Homecoming movie tries too hard with jokes in about every scene. From being... Also, Spider-Man is known for hiding his identity from his loved ones, excluding a few.
Yes.
Tom Holland in Homecoming, his friend finds out immediately. First time he has on the suit that Iron Man gave him, his friend finds out immediately. Although it is important to the story later.
As you find out in Far From Home. Yes.
3 people find out who he is easily.
Sure.
Although Michael Keaton had to work for it. Michael Keaton was a great villain. He was him and Robert Downey Jr. carried that movie.
I disagree.
That is Jake's hot take about Homecoming.
Yeah. Wow.
If it weren't for Michael Keaton and Robert Downey Jr., that movie would have been mediocre.
Yeah. No.
And while it is important that Spider-Man in comics and in TV shows and in the movie can have a mentor in another hero, whether it being Nick Fury or Luke Cage, working with Luke Cage or whatever.
Right.
He just carries him through the movie, essentially. The only part he doesn't carry him is the last fight. And that's why I like the last fight of that movie the most. But every other scene, even with Tony's tech, he still fails.
Okay.
And it is important for a hero to fall and then to rise.
Yes.
But falling all the time doesn't make you feel like he's a hero, especially since he's been Spider-Man for a while.
No, I agree with you. But let me take you to class. Let me take you to cinematography and directorial concepts 101, Jake. When you have a character that is vulnerable, that is young, that is needing to grow, and that is a key cog in his story or her story, the most important thing to do is show that that character is progressing, but also that it's not a straight road, that it's also a road where there's a lot of bumps and a lot of hills and valleys. It's not easy to become Spider-Man. It is a hard thing to do. So that's why I believe that the director and Kevin Feige and all the people that produced and created that movie decided to take
for Miles Morales.
Big if.
Live action Spider-Verse, Tobey, please.
That'd be really cool. But I've just heard that Tom Holland has 6 more movies on his deal.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So
probably 2 more Spider-Men and then 2 to 4 more Avengers.
Yeah. So that's why I think they're taking it slow with Tom Holland. They're showing his progression. They're showing that he can be a hero in his own right at his own pace. Whereas Sam Raimi literally was just given the script, or he wrote it, I think, but he had to portray Spider-Man as a more finished product faster, just because of outside influences. So it's not his fault that it's that way. But that's why Tom Holland and that rendition of Spider-Man, I feel, is successful, because it's going at its own pace. It's not trying to show that Spider-Man's a finished product at the age of 15. Because if he was a finished product at the age of 15 already, you would be using that in this argument against Tom Holland. Because he's too young, it doesn't make sense why a kid would be better than, or already at par with Tony Stark or Captain America or Thor. So that's why that would be my rebuttal to that.
I will say he doesn't have to be at the Avenger level, although they do make it seem like he's Avenger level at the end of the movie, having Tony even invite him into the Avengers.
Yeah.
And not being a test, actually inviting him into the Avengers. He's supposed to be still a hero for his own city. And although he stops a guy from stealing a bike, doesn't get it back to the person he stole it from.
Yeah.
And he helps try to fight small crimes. It doesn't show much of him succeeding in that sense either.
Yeah.
While I'll get into Tobey is a hero for the city.
Is he though?
Is he? Yes. I will say yes.
And
I'll explain why. And my explanation of the 3 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man
I can't believe we're doing it in this order. That's so dumb.
Too late.
Ah.
Your mom decided.
And then right after, Amy's like, Toby, Tom, Tom. Amy, why were you doing? You gotta go faster with the comments, boy.
Is that a Sonic pun? That is
No.
horrible to do to someone.
No, that's her name, Amy.
I know, but...
But, Alien Advices says that Jake, that Spider-Man dude, he's a funny guy. I bet you were talking about the quips. When you were talking about the quips, he was probably like...
Oh, yeah. Spider-Man is a funny guy.
Yeah.
I won't doubt that. That's why Spider-Man saying the quips...
He's a fun guy. Sorry. I'm sorry, I had to do the quiet line.
Spider-Man doing the funny stuff is great, because that's part of his character.
Yeah.
But everyone else doing it, saying like, oh, Aunt May is hot, oh, that's funny. Oh, Aunt May is hot, that's funny. Oh, you got thrown in a garbage can, oh, that's funny. It's supposed to be Spider-Man dishing out the funny comments. I would say half the movie.
Yeah. Don't be lame, fool, he says. Ooh, he's being testy now.
Alien Advices, you'll come around when I explain the Tobey movies, don't worry. And if you don't, I'm so sorry for you being lost in the dark.
The other last thing I want to say about Homecoming is just how you can relate in every way with this Spider-Man. Doubt. Press X to doubt?
Press X to doubt.
Well, guess what? There is no X. Because we're playing... Well, shit. Every console has an X on it.
Exactly.
Never mind.
Press X to doubt.
No, but seriously, I feel like he is the most relatable Spider-Man in the sense of they really took their time and are taking their time getting Spider-Man and Peter Parker through high school. Whereas in Sam Raimi's, it was literally, I timed it, it was the first 30 minutes of the movie and they're already out of high school. And being in high school is a key part of
Ultimate Spider-Man.
No!
The Amazing Spider-Man goes through his young adulthood for most of the comics. Being a reporter at the Daily Bugle,
okay,
and going around in college,
yeah,
dating Gwen Stacy,
yeah,
then moving on to Mary Jane after her death.
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man is mostly his young adulthood, partly taking part in high school, but that's when he gets his powers.
Yeah.
And then after that, he moves on to college and into young adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I would say, Tom Holland makes a more accurate description of because he's mostly in high school. And mostly in school, while the Amazing Spider-Man goes through into an experienced Spider-Man.
Okay. I can agree with you. As an Ultimate Spider-Man, portrayal, he's better at that. I just feel like it wasn't done justice that time in the Sam Raimi trilogy. So that's why I think they're taking a longer time just also because of the contract he has, he's going to be in the MCU for so long. They can do 2 more films of him in college and him being a better role within the MCU and being a more have a leadership role. It'll be better that way. I just think him being in high school and the things that he's going through, especially in Far From Home, are things that everyone can relate to. Not in the Sam Raimi movies, because we have Spider-Man 2 on in the background. It's paused, but we have it on, so that's why I'm pointing at it.
A glorious picture of Tobey Maguire is over in the corner.
But yeah, in these movies, in Spider-Man 2, 1 and 2, 3, is he relatable? I don't think so. Like, I just don't see it. Like, at first he's learning to be Spider-Man. He's learning how to become Spider-Man and how that gets in the way with everything else in his life. You know, juggling things. I guess if you really want to stretch, you can relate to him pretty easily. But I feel like Tom Holland and the writers in the MCU were able to capture just something that everybody has gone through at some point in their lives, where you're just a young adult, you don't know really what you're doing, you have a crush on this girl, and you want to be with her, but yet you have to, like, do other things. Like,
you just described Spider-Man 1.
No, I did not. I really did not, because he was too much of a fucking bitch.
Ooh, that's strong words.
No, he was a straight up bitch to, like, not talk to Mary Jane. He didn't go and do anything to, like, go after her.
Marco, I'm gonna level with you here right quick.
Okay,
fast.
yeah.
In high school, especially high school, were you as confident to talk to every person you had a crush on? Because I for sure was not.
I actually was.
I'm so proud for you. But as an awkward individual, especially in middle and high school,
you were not awkward.
I was awkward in the romantic sense, and that's all that matters in terms of what you just talked about. Talking to the person you have a crush on and informing them and not knowing how to flirt, that's a big thing.
Sure.
That's a big thing a lot of people can relate to.
Okay. But when the movie stays outside of high school for most of that time and you're in college, and even at that point, when you've moved on, you and I are 4 years out of high school. The amount of growth that we have had, even we could say in the first 2 years after high school, is pretty significant after that point. If your, ex-neighbor still kept in touch with you, you saw her around the city, you still had a crush on her, wouldn't you think, you know what? I'm outside of high school now. If I ask her out on a date and she says no, it doesn't matter to me, because it's like, I know it's a definitive no. So wouldn't you, as Peter Parker, just take the leap and just say, like, hey, I like you, let's go out, instead of waiting for Harry Osborn to cuck you and take her right in front of your face?
I'm going to get into this because after I answer Amy's statement, I'm going to get into Spider-Man 1.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Amy, Tobey did look like an undercover cop in a high school. I won't lie to you.
They all did, though.
But let's go back and think for a minute. How many, like, up-and-coming teen actors were there in 2002?
There were a lot.
But were you going to trust the Marvel franchise, possibly a big movie for Marvel, in the hands of one of these awkward teens? Yeah. Probably not. Disney Channel could go with it for miles. And Disney now owning Marvel, they can do that as well. But back then, I feel like they kind of needed more of an adult Spider-Man, especially with the direction they ended up taking. Having an adult Spider-Man and an experienced Spider-Man.
I feel also times have changed where you needed an older Spider-Man in order for adults to be okay with, like, certain themes being portrayed. I don't know. I just feel like there's some themes with Spider-Man, especially in, like, the first one with, just like him. I feel like back then, like, society was a lot more conservative in a sense. So people were like, oh, like,
an adult beating up another adult and possibly wanting to have sex with this Broadway actress.
Yeah,
got to be like an adult.
Exactly. Whereas, like, if it was kids fighting on screen, like, I know that, what's that one fucking book we had to read in? Lord of the Flies was a movie out in, like, the 80s or 70s.
Spy Kids, motherfucking Spider-Man.
Spy Kids.
But, anyways, I'm going to start my enterprise of Spider-Man movies in the order that your mother said.
God,
Spider-Man 1 by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man.
All right.
The prelude.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 1 depicts an accurate representation of the Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
Both me and you have sort of agreed on this.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, the Amazing Spider-Man went on for so long it became the iconic Spider-Man.
Yes.
And having Tobey Maguire, I'm going to start at the beginning and go to the end.
Okay.
Tobey Maguire starting in high school, starting as an awkward young nerd, essentially. He was smart, he was awkward, didn't know how to really talk to people, but he had a best friend. A best friend, Harry Osborn.
Yes.
That he kept very close to him.
Yes.
And having your friends in high school with you, having your best friend with you is a great time. And then he's trying to get to know Mary Jane at the place where they're studying the spiders.
Yes.
And his friend Harry, being the better looking of the two, is using the facts that Peter gave him to try to get at the same girl because they're both interested.
True.
You ever had that feeling where you're interested in the same person?
No, that has never happened before. Never. Never mind, sorry.
I wasn't sure if that was sarcasm or not.
No, I was just looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody that's watching knows, for sure. We have been in this exact situation. Go ahead.
Oh, no. But Tobey, he puts on a believable front of being an awkward person.
Yeah.
People in general are very awkward.
Are they?
Tobey Maguire... You're looking at... We're two very awkward people, Marco.
Are we?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
What? Okay.
In the general public, we're definitely not a norm.
Sure, I could agree with that.
And Tobey puts out that he is not a normal person. He's a nerdy guy who's awkward and doesn't know how to really talk to people.
Yeah.
And then the spider bites him. He goes home to his loving aunt and uncle, Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Yep.
And he goes straight to bed. And he develops his spider powers overnight because of the spider bite, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's something also that the Tom Holland movies miss out on, is that transformation from Peter Parker to Spider-Man. And I feel like it's a little more presentable in both Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Because when we first see Tom Holland, he's already Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's already fighting Captain America.
Yes.
And in his own movie, how am I supposed to relate to a young, attractive man who has abs the first time we see him shirtless? Some people do have abs, but not everyone's Spider-Man in high school. How am I supposed to relate to that? Even with your profound abilities, you're still fumbling over your words, which is relatable.
Yes, very relatable.
But
I do it all the time on this podcast.
Tobey Maguire starts off as that awkward, bumbling idiot that we all kind of are from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
He's a relatable guy.
Yeah.
And he's someone you can see yourself as.
Yeah.
And in New York, which I will argue that the Tobey Maguire movies have an accurate portrayal of New York and New Yorkers. One, being in New York, and two, it shows citizens a lot more in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And it shows them interacting with people around them, such as people performing on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Performing the Spider-Man song once it gets big.
Spider-Man.
I'm talking about the first guy, not the Asian lady in Spider-Man 2.
That's the only one that comes to mind.
And even when Tobey becomes Spider-Man, he has more interactions as it goes on.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue on with the storyline. Tobey Maguire becomes Spider-Man. We immediately see him test out his new abilities, and he's like, oh, I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to try to go into that wrestling thing to get money.
To buy a car.
To impress Mary Jane. So he goes in, iconic wrestling scene featuring both Bonesaw and I'm forgetting his name from Evil Dead.
Who did he play? Oh, the guy, the announcer.
Yeah.
He's in every Spider-Man. He's in every.
He's
Sam
in
Raimi
all
movie.
three Sam Raimi movies.
Yeah.
An iconic scene done well by everyone in this part. Toby, Bonesaw, and the announcer.
Yeah.
Giving him his identity as Spider-Man. Showing an iconic comic book scene, which a lot of people harp on Toby for not doing, is not showing comic book relative scenes.
Right.
But I would say that that was an essential part. Of course, there's some jokes in there that might throw off some people now.
Yeah, there's some offensive things now.
Still kind of funny, though.
We could breeze over them. Yeah, I mean, they still get a chuckle, but it's like, oh, man. Like, fuck.
But also, in this movie, it establishes something that's very important to Spider-Man's identity.
Yeah. Which is?
Great power
comes great responsibility.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
And that's something that Peter keeps close to him through all three movies.
Yes.
Tom does not.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm not gonna disagree with you on those points.
And that's a major part of being Spider-Man. But, anyways,
okay.
We also see his villain, Willem Dafoe, as Norman Osborn.
Yep.
Being a power-hungry man trying to survive and make sure his business stays afloat by investing into the nanotechnology that's supposed to boost someone's combat abilities.
Yeah.
Go to dangerous lengths to make sure he stays afloat.
Yes.
We see him turn evil because the formula ended up being not completely finished. We see him become evil the second he steps out of it by murdering the person that was helping him.
Yes.
And that's one thing that the Tobey Maguire movies are not afraid to do, is show someone dying.
Yes, there's reasons for that, but yes, I would agree with you.
Disney, MCU,
Yes.
they hold back a lot when they could do really well. Even Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man shows some people dying, but sometimes that's Andrew Garfield's fault, and that's why he's not as a great Spider-Man. But Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 1, as it goes on, he becomes a greater Spider-Man. He starts saving people. He tries to stop people. He doesn't even murder the man who murders his uncle. He grabs him.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He lets him go, and the man stumbles over, trying to back away from him, falls out a window. Accidental death, but you could say it's somewhat... Bruce Campbell. Thank you, Dennis. Bruce Campbell.
Who's Bruce Campbell? Oh, that's the guy.
Yes, that's the man.
Oh, okay.
That's the man who's in all three Spider-Man movies for a good reason. And I'll get into that after we finish Spider-Man 3s.
Yeah, we're listening to a recap of every movie.
Going through the best Spider-Man movies one at a time.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay.
So, he finally meets the villain once Norman decides, I'm going to take revenge on the people that voted me out. I'm going to make sure that they pay for what they've done.
Yeah.
Which is an understandable motivation for a villain, especially when he's having a psychotic break, essentially.
Yes.
So, when they first meet, first of all, Tobey Maguire movies have amazing fight scenes.
Are you talking in general Tobey Maguire movies or just these movies? Just
the Spider-Man movies.
Just the Spider-Man. I thought you meant in general, like, any Tobey Maguire movie has great fight scenes. I was like, wait, how many other movies does he have with fight scenes? I was like, what?
All of them have been home movies. Their fights are generally weaker, and it's more of a web-slinging battle.
I disagree.
And we'll get into that during your rebuttal.
Okay, yeah.
God,
I'm going to have a lot to say.
That's fine. But,
yeah.
Getting into it,
yeah.
Norman Osborn tries to reason with Spider-Man after their first encounter, which was a great fight. He saves Mary Jane, has a almost brush-in with telling her who he is. He's like, you know who I am.
Yeah.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
He says it a lot less enthusiastically than that, but yeah. Okay.
It's because he actually wore a mask, so his voice was muffled.
Sure,
it wasn't all CGI.
Yeah, right, okay.
And I'm not bagging on CGI, because the CGI, I will admit, in the Tobey movies is kind of shoddy in some spots, because it was in fact 2002, 2004, and 2007.
Such great years, right? Such amazing time for media and cinema.
Yes,
overall.
Because they had the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And if anything, I feel like it showed a human side to Norman when he tried to be like, come on, you know you want this. The people don't care about you. Especially with J. Jonah Jameson, played by the amazing J.K. Simmons, as a perfect casting role.
He is the best. He is the best
J. Jonah Jameson, and the Tom Holland movies know it because they bring him back because they know they couldn't find a better one.
Yeah, I agree. He's the fucking best J. Jonah Jameson. There's no way.
And when we get to Far From Home, I'll show you why they fucked up with him.
What?
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh my God. You're just being contrarian just for the sake of being a contrarian. Come on.
J. Jonah Jameson being there is amazing. But I'll explain to you why he can't be there as much.
Okay.
Also, they show J. Jonah Jameson as a good person, besides being kind of an asshole. Because when Green Goblin attacks him personally, he doesn't throw Peter under the bus.
Yeah, true. But he's like, who's your friend that knows Spider-Man? And he's like, I don't know. Just get the pictures. Yeah.
We get them in the mail.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get on to the love story of Spider-Man 1, because a lot of people like to bag on Kirsten Dunst.
For good reason, yes.
She didn't do bad in these movies. Spider-Man 3, I will say, not as great in the romance department, but Spider-Man 1, there was some genuine chemistry in that cinema.
What?
When they were on screen.
In what sense?
In the sense that they had lived next to each other for most of their lives. He started to try to get to know her after they were in high school when he bumps into her.
Their senior year, yeah.
After high school, when he bumps into her when she's working at the diner.
Yeah.
Finds out she's dating Harry, which is kind of a heartbreak to him because, oh, fuck, she's dating my best friend. Gotta leave that alone.
Yeah.
Then notices they have a rocky relationship along the way, and when she starts falling for Spider-Man, he's thinking about letting her know that he is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And once Norman realizes who he is, he realizes that he can take advantage of him being in love with Mary Jane and uses it to try to sway his differences.
Yeah.
Also, yes, Dennis, great point. I almost forgot to mention this. The upside down kiss.
Yeah.
Iconic to Spider-Man.
I'm not gonna disagree with you. The upside down kiss. I'll go as far as this, and this might diminish part of my argument. I really don't care because it's just super, just like culturally relevant in every sense. Like it captivates something that's a little bit more, romantic, as opposed to like a lot of these MCU movies where there's not really any scenes quite like it. So I'll give you that.
It was a very romantic scene, and it showed some chemistry, especially since he saved her life from possibly getting sexually assaulted.
Yeah, well,
that was a bit of a dodgy scene,
yeah,
but it showed how cool New York can be.
It's true. New York is a sketchy place.
And it showed how cruel the world can be too. The MCU is a bit bright and shiny in every part of the world.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, well,
except for alien planets.
There's also what's that one place that like Ultron was trying to put up in the air and slam down and like cause an earthquake or cause like the whole world, Slovakia or some shit, some area over that way. I forgot what it's called.
I mean, it wasn't like
it was pretty shitty over there.
It was pretty shitty, but that's because of, like the military and Hydra. But
sure,
in terms of just an everyday city such as New York, such as where Spider-Man is and comes from,
yeah.
It shows the realities of that city, that not everyone in it is good. And another bad part of it is Green Goblin.
Part of it?
Another...
Oh, like bad as in like...
Evil.
Yeah, evil part. Okay.
Green Goblin, which Norman Osborn plays great. Both the part of Norman Osborn and Peter Parker, since it's side
Oh, you mean Willem Dafoe?
See? I just associated. But yes.
Oh, that's your excuse for every time you get
Yeah, I'm bad with actors' names. I'm just going to be upfront with that.
Oh, god damn.
Willem Dafoe pulls off Norman Osborn and Green Goblin
Thank you.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Because he shows Norman Osborn's wanting to still be a good person and Green Goblin's lust for power and revenge.
Okay.
And he does that in like the same scene. He'll be talking to himself as Norman and the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And it shows how far his mind has gone.
Yes. True.
Then, at the end, it really shows Spider-Man and how his life has come together when he's swinging in at the end to save Mary Jane, and Green Goblin, is saying, "Choose Spider-Man." Or, I'm not going to say like Green Goblin because it's...
Choose Spider-Man. Like, kind of like that.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And not only does he save Mary Jane, but he also saves the trolley full of Boy Scouts as well.
It's almost as if it's a movie and it has to end on a happy ending.
It doesn't end on a happy ending, and we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. It ends with the most infuriating scene in all of cinema. In all of cinema. It makes no sense. But anyways.
He saves them both. He fights Green Goblin one more time.
Yeah.
All the fights with Green Goblin have been pretty great. The one on the balloons, the one in the burning building... And then he finally fights him in the abandoned building.
Yeah.
Although he is getting beat up because he was trying to save people and fight at the same time.
Yes.
But when it shows that Green Goblin might have had the upper hand, the citizens of New York try to help Spider-Man because they realize he's their city's hero. One of my favorite quotes from the first Spider-Man is, "I've got something for your ass." Some guy throwing something off the bridge at Green Goblin.
Yeah, it was like an orange or something.
I thought it was like a traffic cone, but
Really, I thought it was. Well, maybe
it could have been like a grapefruit or something.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
But in Green Goblin's final moments, when he realizes he's beat because Spider-Man gets the upper hand,
Yeah.
he tries to pull a dirty trick by pretending to be Osborn. And showing spider sense, because they show a lot of spider sense in Spider-Man 1 and 2.
True.
Not as much in Tom Holland's movies.
Yeah, but that goes back to the progression. It's a slower progression with Spider-Man.
Spider sense is supposed to be immediate, not progressed.
Okay, not in every Spider-Man story is it immediate.
It's pretty immediate.
Is it though?
Miles Morales had it about right after he had gotten bitten by the spider. Andrew Garfield showed that he had it. They just fumbled with it later. Tobey Maguire showed that he had it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Holland shows that he has it occasionally, but it's never quick enough for some reason.
Because they're going at a slower pace.
I'm going to excuse him not being a great hero, but I won't excuse the spider sense.
You know, you don't have to excuse it because it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense.
But it does.
Spider-Man is supposed to have spider sense
I
immediately.
agree. Okay, immediately. But, see, there's
only a few options I would accept that he doesn't have it, which they could have done in Far From Home, but they didn't based on what they did with the villain. But we'll get to that in your statements from Far From Home.
Yeah.
We'll continue with the free argument in another...
Yeah.
You can continue in your rebuttal.
For one?
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
Oh, God, okay.
And so we get to the funeral scene for Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
He doesn't want him to tell Harry that he was the Goblin, which
Yes.
is understandable. You don't want the people you love to know that you had been an evil person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm listening.
I won't deny that Holland's snap was a very serious part of the MCU, but that wasn't a Spider-Man movie. That was an Avengers movie. And that was a
that is
masterpiece.
such a cop-out. No! Come on! Spider-Man's in it! We're debating the Spider-Man...
We can debate his parts in the Avengers, because he was a way better Spider-Man in the Avengers than he was in his own movies.
Wow.
Yes.
That's offensive to every one of my sensibilities. Okay.
It's offensive to my spider senses. But at the funeral scene, Harry swears revenge,
Yeah.
pointing to a possible sequel, because this was a time where superhero movies weren't immediately going to get another movie.
Yeah.
It was based off their own success if they were going to continue or go die like Daredevil or Elektra.
Daredevil. God.
Or Howard the Duck.
Oh, yeah, Howard the Duck. One of the best superhero movies of all time.
And then Mary Jane
I'm sorry.
And then Mary Jane realizes her true feelings for Peter after getting to know him a lot better and getting saved essentially by Spider-Man. She kind of has a hunch who he might be.
Right.
And then he realizes, if the people know who I am and know that I'm Spider-Man, everyone I know is in danger.
Sure.
Such as Aunt May being attacked in the first movie and Mary Jane be Daniels.
My
Deliver us
my
from
favorite
evil.
That's my favorite part of the movie. I love it. Yeah.
Marco loves terrifying grandmas. But Peter realizes he has more important things to keep safe in his life, like Mary Jane, so he keeps her safe by rejecting her.
Okay.
And it ends on a somber note, him walking away, realizing with great power comes great responsibility. And ends the movie.
Sure. That's fine. That's a great synopsis of what happens in the movie.
Alien admits that Spider-Man's better in the Avengers than his own movies.
Definitely better than... Okay, well, obviously Alien doesn't know shit, because...
Alien, I respect you admitting that he's better in Avengers than his own movie. I'm pretty sure that even if we don't agree on Tobey.
I'm pretty sure that he hasn't even seen Far From Home. I will bet you anything he hasn't seen.
That shouldn't matter based on Far From Home.
That should matter, actually, because that is a pivotal step in Spider-Man becoming... Tom Holland Spider-Man, becoming the leader of the Avengers.
I'm going to save it for later. But,
okay, yeah, you can save it. That's fine. But, okay, so let me just quickly rebuttal this and break down everything that you just said. So, my problem with the first Spider-Man movie, other than what I said in the beginning, where Tom Holland, his Spider-Man takes place more in high school, obviously, And that is a key part of who Spider-Man is, and I feel like they should have spent a little bit more time in that in the first Spider-Man movie. Maybe that's not the fault of Sam Raimi. Maybe that's not the fault of it's got all these fucking names. Tobey Maguire. But it is a fault of the movie overall, regardless of who you want to put the blame on. So, with that out of the way, other problems with the movie. Other problems with that Spider-Man, specific Spider-Man. He's not charismatic in any sense at all. Even when he tries, even when he's given lines to be like funny and to be quippy, as you say, to Green Goblin or to any other foes that he faces, you know, those sexual assaulters that tried to like get at Mary Jane.
No one's gonna joke during that.
Well, yeah, okay, but there's some things that you could say. Okay, regardless, he's not funny. He's not funny. He's not enjoyable to watch. As Peter Parker in the first movie, okay, maybe you can excuse it because it's the first movie, but this carries on throughout the entire trilogy. Literally, nobody respects him. Nobody respects him. Even as Spider-Man, people don't respect him. Even after, after the first movie, after the citizens help him, in the second movie, which we were just watching, people are like, oh, like, him and Doc Ock, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, they start shitting on him again. Like, that's a common theme within those three movies where it's like, they like him, and then they don't like him. And then like him, and they don't like him. Maybe J. Jonah Jameson has something to do with it, but it doesn't.
That's a main part of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, but but I understand it, but that doesn't mean that it makes him a good Spider-Man where it makes sense within a movie. Maybe in a comic book it makes more sense, but in a movie, when you're watching these consistent things that are side by side, that are parallel with each other, it doesn't make sense.
Mentions the emo Peter Parker dance. That is a hilarious scene. Very charismatic.
Okay, that's not charismatic. That's just Sony being fucking Sony. And we'll get into that because
we'll get into my Spider-Man 3 here.
I have a lot more takes down the line. We might be here for a minute, but yeah, no. So another thing wrong with the first Spider-Man 2 is how in the comic books he doesn't have natural webs.
That is true. In a lot of renditions, he has web shooters.
He has web shooters, and he creates them, and he makes them in his room. And there a lot of the issues that Spider-Man comes with, which none of the movies have tackled this yet. But
I would say Amazing Spider-Man 1 did.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, you're right.
And 1 also showed him creating the web shooters, which is a very big part as well because showed like how smart Peter is. Mm-hmm. Tom Holland just kind of had him. Spider-Man, Tobey had organic webs, so I don't think we can each really hit each other too much on that one.
I guess. I just feel like at least give Tobey non-organic web shooters. It just makes more sense, even though I know that those scenes of him trying to figure out how to like make the webs come out of his hands is iconic. It's still
go web.
Yeah, exactly. He's like whatever.
Up and away web.
Yeah. It's a funny scene, but I just feel like it doesn't hold up to today's standards, and at a certain point I just have to you can't excuse something forever. And I've gotten to the point where I can't excuse. It's disgusting if you really think about it. It's kind of disgusting.
It is, but it also was a very unique thing about this movie. They took a risk. And I think they pulled it off.
Sure.
The natural webbing is something that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man fell back on too often. The non-natural webbing. His web shooters malfunctioning, that was something he fell back on a lot.
Sure. I just feel like that is an issue that should have been that could have easily have been brought up in the first movie if they were to have gone that route. It would have made more sense within the plot. Because it just adds another layer to the drama. Not only do you have Green Goblin holding a bunch of children and Mary Jane in one hand, Mary Jane in another hand, and they drops both. But also the web shooters aren't working. Now how is he going to get it?
He wouldn't.
Dramatically.
He would have to choose, and that's how people like Gwen Stacy die.
Yeah, but I mean...
And against a villain
Sam
like Green
Raimi could have
Goblin,
figured it out. I mean,
if against a villain like Green Goblin... he wouldn't really have the ability to disable his web shooters, to be honest. People that usually do are like Electro or like someone big crushing them. Green Goblin is more just throwing pumpkin bombs at him.
I mean, I don't disagree. I'm just saying that I feel like it's a key part of the character that they just haven't. They literally haven't really gone through. The sequence of Tobey learning while crying is priceless and fucking Harris. Yeah, it's funny if you're like in third grade, which is how old we were when we were watching.
I would feel
that movie.
like when he discovers his powers and he's running across the rooftops. That's how you would feel if you discovered you had Spider-Man powers.
I don't disagree with that,
and that's a relatable scene.
But another thing that you said is how the origin of Spider-Man and seeing how he became Spider-Man is super important. But you have to understand the context of the Tom Holland movies. They came at a time in which literally everybody that has watched the MCU knows the origin of Spider-Man. So if you're going to sit through a movie, you're going to pay $13 to go see a movie in theaters, and the first hour is literally the same story that you saw back in 2002. It could.
It could, but it's not going to be.
Yeah, no,
especially
it
in a
would
time
be.
when the other ones have already shown it. But even without him losing Uncle Ben, they didn't show him become Spider-Man. He just was Spider-Man. And that's something that I feel like his character lacks, is that transformation. And you say they're going at a slower pace to where he becomes that big hero.
I think they're doing it to compensate for the fact that they didn't show Uncle Ben, that they didn't show him making the web shooters, they didn't show him on his first time being a hero, they didn't show him doing like anything.
The character.
I don't think so. I don't think it does, because as a character, we know how he becomes Spider-Man. We all know it.
We know it, but it's also an important part of the movie to show that, such as Captain America becoming Captain America, such as Hulk becoming the Hulk,
Iron Man becoming Iron Man,
Iron Man becoming Iron Man, Thor reclaiming his power as Thor, such as Thanos getting the Infinity Stones. It's an important part in their character.
So let me ask you this: in the third movie, through flashbacks or whatever, if they explain how he became Spider-Man, if maybe how he became Spider-Man was a pivotal part in the third movie's plot, would Tom Holland's Spider-Man raise a little bit in your eyes? It's let's see. Yeah, exactly, Amy. See, exactly. Let's see. They don't really focus on Tobey's Peter Parker being very intelligent. That's true. Well, no, honestly, Tobey's Peter Parker, they actually spend more time
showing that
he is pretty smart. Because he's like,
and I'll say with Tom that they show it as well, because he knows what he's talking about when it shows him kind of like making some extra web fluid.
Yeah.
On the side while also being in school. It shows him knowing what he's talking about in the debate club.
Yeah.
I think the only one that's missing in really is Andrew Garfield's.
Yeah, I'd say so. I bet he did create the web shooters. They dropped the ball on that made it weird. He was working with Doc Ock in number 2. I mean, that is weird that he was working with Doc Ock, but at the same time, that is true. That is a fatal flaw of the second movie, and we can get into that later. But
we'll get into it.
We'll get into it later, because I can get into that forever. Yes, you see the origin story a million times. Yeah, exactly. Like, you see it all the time. Everyone knows the story. So why would you spend valuable screen time, when you can build up Vulture as a hero?
They could literally show it as a flashback in the first movie. Show some cuts of Uncle Ben being shot, him like first putting on the suit and everything, him discovering his powers. They could make that like a 10-minute flashback and do a lot more for his character.
And you know another movie that did that? Batman versus Superman. How good did that movie do? It really didn't do that well.
It didn't do well, but that's just because DC fumbles the ball on a lot of their live-action movies. Marvel could have done good with it, and you know that.
Sure, maybe. I don't know. I think there's more to the character than just the origin. Yes, it is an important part. But even the not Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man didn't really talk about, with great power comes great responsibility. That wasn't even really
They
a
had
thing.
kind of a weird, watered-down thing with Martin Sheen, but...
Martin Sheen.
But they tried.
Let's see. Holland Spider-Man in the MCU. Okay. Gets too much thunder taken away from him by Tony Stark. That's a lie. That's not true. You're wrong. You're garbage. You're a loser.
I feel like Iron Man steals a lot of the thunder. He saves Tom twice. Saves him from dying, from not being able to get out of a parachute that he doesn't open on his own accord because he doesn't know his suit, because he hacked it and didn't try to test it out first. To also him saving him during the boat scene, since he wasn't able to save the people on the boat himself.
Like I said, if you were 15 and you were Spider-Man and you were figuring out this new technology and you're in with Iron Man and the Avengers are on your door and there's all this stuff happening, you like this girl that you want to hang out with and you can't.
Liking the girl had nothing to do with the Tony Stark scenes.
No, I'm just saying, if you have a bunch of stuff going on through your head and you're a little immature 15-year-old, you're going to mess up. It's going to happen. That's realistic.
Yes, but every step of the way?
Yes.
Every step of the way?
Yes, that is...
Since you already fought Captain America, since you were already Spider-Man for a couple years before... Not a couple years, about a year before?
Yeah. Yes, I'd say so, because...
You're seriously going to say that Spider-Man, a guy who actually becomes Spider-Man pretty quickly, gets on his feet and starts fighting bad guys, is going to fail every step of the way, especially when he gets a suit, tech, and, like, basically skill upgrade. He's going to fail every step of the way?
Yeah, because he's gifted those things. He didn't design any of it, so he doesn't know any of the specs. And he is an immature kid, and that's why he doesn't test it out before. And he just goes in blindly and tries to, like, figure it out on a whim and almost gets killed multiple times because he's a fool. He's a kid. He's a little kid. He's going to do immature, stupid shit. Like, that's just how kids are. I was that way. I definitely was that way when I was that age.
But you weren't awkward?
I wasn't... No, I wasn't really... Okay, maybe I was awkward. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm just saying I don't think I was, but maybe I was. I don't know. But, let's see. Last question. Okay, the difference with all of those, though, is that before MCU, nobody really knew these characters' origins. The early Spider-Man movies made his origin common knowledge.
People knew
Thank
Cap.
you.
People knew Iron Man. People knew Thor.
No.
Those are some of the biggest names in the MCU or in Marvel. Besides, Spider-Man is the most widely known. I will say that.
Yeah.
But that's also...
origin story.
I feel like it costs Tom's character a little bit.
I don't think so. I think it's fine because we know it. We know it. But I think
it's an integral part of Spider-Man's character.
I will admit that it is weird that he doesn't mention Uncle Ben at all.
He slightly does in Homecoming.
Yeah,
he doesn't want Aunt May to know because of all the stuff she's been through, hinting about Uncle Ben.
Okay, yeah.
But that's the most they give him.
That's true. That's true. But they can highlight that more in the third, and I feel like they will. I really feel like they will. Why do you doubt it? Do you feel like they're not smart enough? The people at Disney aren't smart enough to see that that's a gripe on this Tom Holland rendition of Spider-Man, that they won't address it in the third movie?
Why would they address it in the third? They didn't in the second.
Because there's other pivotal things that happened before the second movie that really matters to the MCU. Kind of like, the snap.
True.
And
true.
Other things they have to address more so.
True. But it's also a Spider-Man movie, not an Avengers Thanos movie.
Yeah.
So the snap they addressed well. They addressed some people being younger, some people being older, people coming back.
Yeah.
Just happens to be all of Peter's friends being snapped.
I know, they
well.
all got snapped. That's so dumb. I hate that. I'm sorry.
Also, another dumb part of Tom Holland's school group. I'm just going to lay this out. Michelle Jones, MJ, is kind of annoying in the first movie.
You think so?
Not very a likable character. I'm not saying Zendaya is beautiful and she does a lot better in Far From Home.
A very attractive lady.
Oh yes, of course. But in Far From Home, she does a lot better as a character. First one, not so much. And the bully.
Oh yeah.
Flash Thompson, they've reduced to a joke essentially. His form of bullying is just saying "Penis Parker" over a microphone. Oh no, something my friends would do to me anyway. I'm so embarrassed. He said the word penis in front of my last name as if it were my first name. I will say that there was an actual bully in the first movie.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Flash Thompson, the adult undercover cop Flash Thompson was a bigger threat than this rendition of Flash Thompson, I will say.
And I'll get into his character later in your Far From Home section.
Okay. Well, last thing I got to say about the first movie, because we kind of got a little bit off track. Last thing I'm going to say is just how... I'm not even going to talk about... Yeah, fuck it. The pacing of that movie is just super fast. Like, it just goes like this. It's just nonstop train ride. Just like, they cram so much into it. And I feel like part of that is the origin story. Like, they weren't able to build up the Green Goblin as much. His intentions aren't really shown. And I know that that's not really a gripe on the Spider-Man character. That's more the movie. But I just got to say it for the record. I think the pacing really doesn't do the movie justice. If they would have slowed down, fleshed out a little more things, made the Green Goblin a little bit more of a character that people could understand, it would have really helped the movie. But they didn't do that. They wanted to rush it. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense.
And like I've said to most of the things we've said over the last couple of months, I disagree.
I know. That's been the thing that you tell me the most out of everything we ever talked about.
I will admit the pacing is a bit fast. I will admit that.
A bit?
But early 2000s, music and movies were a bit fast-paced. They were just kind of like throwing everything at once.
Sure.
Because everyone was kind of...
Early 2000s pop punk is definitely that way, I will admit. I will admit that.
But I feel like Green Goblin was understandable enough as a character. He was everything was going to get taken from him.
Yeah.
Then he developed the serum. They were going to kick him out of his job, being a corporate, like being the owner of Oscorp. They were going to kick him out of his own business.
Yeah.
And the serum, with that craziness stirring, he decided to take revenge. And then he decided, I want more power.
I would agree with you, but after he kills all those corporals and people threatening to take away the funding, there's no reason for him to do anything else because he's keeping the company. Why does he continue to harass Spider-Man, try to get him to help him out? He got what he wanted. He's keeping the company. No one's going to take it away from him.
Because that's part of the Green Goblin. He is evil. That's his other side of him coming out, wanting to get more, wanting to kill more, wanting to hurt Spider-Man for trying to foil his plans.
So that's literally the reason why the Green Goblin continues to do things in the movie. From what you're saying is just the fact that he is evil.
What is the point of these villains existing if not part of their name, evil, villain, if none of them are evil? I understand having an actual character, an actual person as a villain, such as Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man Homecoming, and kind of Far From Home.
Yeah.
They are real people that you would believe, as well as this one, but this person is just lost their mind and wants to hurt people.
I just don't see it. I don't see it as a motive.
He mostly wants to hurt Spider-Man because he rejected his offer to help him become more powerful. He wants power. He wants everything, essentially.
Greed is green, and because he goes crazy. Those are just super simplistic ideas that don't matter to so you're telling me...
To a sane and sound person like you or me, it would be understandable. I'm not going to hurt a person just because I could get maybe another apple pie at fucking McDonald's. But Green Goblin, I'll take that fucking apple pie.
Yeah, okay, but when you say, if you're giving a pass on this Green Goblin just going crazy and being evil, and that is the motive behind him doing everything, then there is a ton of villains out there that people shit on to this day. I can name hundreds of them where literally they're horrible movies and they can't think of a motive to give the villain, but they need a villain, so okay, this guy's just evil. He's just evil. That's all he is. And
you're going to have a rough time during Far From Home.
No, I do not. No, I will not, actually.
Because
Mysterio is not... That's not his... How is that him? There's a clear-cut motive.
Because his motives besides... I'll get to that.
Okay. You know what?
Norman Osborn has clear motivations. He wants revenge, and then he's his anger drives him to do even more messed up stuff.
I disagree. Anyways, go to Spider-Man 2. We got to get
All
going.
right. Spider-Man 2, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire. So, we're coming off of Spider-Man 1. Him not pursuing Mary Jane because he wants to keep her safe, which is important to do. And realizing, me being Spider-Man could endanger her.
Yeah.
Ends up doing it anyway because...
I know, because it's a bad movie.
No. But because he still has feelings for her. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And what?
Actually... No, I'll just continue. So, he starts off, he's in college, he's like getting his feet out into the world on his own.
Right.
He's Spider-Man. It's established he's Spider-Man. And he's the hero of New York.
Yeah.
He's making sure that the people stay safe, and he makes sure he tries to reconnect with his family. His friends, his aunt,
his one member of the family.
You don't have to pick on his dead parents and dead uncle.
Everybody else already does, so I mean...
I know, but we don't have to go there. We can be above that. We don't have to be evil.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I would say that throughout this movie, he shows an iconic Spider-Man, an experienced Spider-Man that knows how to fight, knows how to stop crime, and does his best to try. Throughout the movie...
Does he try his best, really? Doesn't he throw the suit in a dumpster?
I'll get to that. Another iconic Spider-Man scene, actually.
Sure.
You don't believe me?
That one's less iconic than the kiss.
It's an iconic Spider-Man scene from the comics.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll give you that. Whatever.
So, Dr. Otto Octavius. Almost a perfect cast, almost as good as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you.
He plays a perfect Doc Ock in this movie. Shows a scientist who's devoting his life's work and making sure his project goes to plan, funded by
Oscorp. Yeah.
And I'm forgetting James Frank, the son Oscorp.
Harry.
Being upset at Spider-Man, he's trying to make sure he can do everything to try to find out who he is so he can murder Spider-Man.
Yes.
Because someone murdered your dad, you'd be pretty upset. Or you thought they murdered your dad.
Yeah, I'd be pretty mad too.
Dr. Otto Octavius, he shows his experiment. Something goes wrong. You can't control... He didn't have the formula correct. He couldn't control the fusion, causing a sun to start growing in the room. And although we will admit, like we just did earlier, that they probably should have had more protection.
Yeah, I mean, you're standing
wearing
like
a tank top.
5 years, not 5 years, 5 yards away from this giant radiation ball, and you're standing there just like in a suit. Like what?
It does
So dumb.
provide the steps for the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man saves Harry Osborn from getting killed by the reaction.
Yeah,
because he's still his friend. Peter still loves Harry as his friend, and he's still gonna make sure that he's safe, whether he doesn't like him, whether Harry doesn't like Spider-Man or not. Then it shows how the experiment kills his beloved wife. The glass goes right through her.
Oh yeah, the beloved wife. I forgot about her because she was like in 2 minutes of the movie. But yeah, anyways.
But Otto Octavius loved her, and
sure.
Then it shows him
getting
injured in it. Yeah. Also, the control chip in the back of the Dr. Ock arms getting destroyed.
Yeah, it breaks.
And when the explosion goes off, all shit breaks loose.
Yes.
Then it shows the arms have a mind of their own,
a very Evil Dead inspired scene, which you just watched.
Yeah, it does have a nod to Evil Dead, I won't admit. But is that a bad thing?
No,
I don't think so.
It's not bad. I'm just saying it's kind of cool. I actually think it's really cool that he did that.
But the arms have a mind of their own, and they murder the people trying to take them off of Dr. Ock.
Yeah.
And then he realizes, oh, these arms have, I can't control them as well. Oh, fuck, I killed my wife. Oh, shit, my life's work is in the toilet. And then he's like, oh, the inhibitor chip. Something happened to it.
Yeah, the camera just, zooms in on his neck real quick. He's like, oh, the inhibitor chip. It's hella funny. Yeah.
It was early 2000s. They kind of had to show things a little more.
Sure, yeah.
People were a little slower back then. But I will say that he's one of the best villains in the Spider-Man series.
When you say series, you mean the first 3?
I mean of all of the Spider-Man live-action movies. Because he has clear motivation. He's a decent person, but he's just going down the wrong path. Mostly because of the influence of the arms caused by the malfunction of the experiment.
Yeah.
They get into his mind and they kind of take control of him a bit.
Yeah.
And he explains why, because it's connected directly to his cerebellum, and they influence him like, you need to finish the machine. They make his biggest his wife. He just lost his life's work, but the arms say, or did you? Did you just lose your life's work?
Mm.
And that's what I believe his drive becomes: is I need to finish this for the good of mankind. I need to finish this because I need it. I need to do this whether they want it or not.
Okay.
And that's part of him, part of the arms.
Yeah.
So that brings us to when Peter and Doc Ock first meet, when he's trying to help his Aunt May get a loan to try to keep her house.
Get a loan? Yeah.
And that's a relatable scene. Who hasn't gone to the bank? Who hasn't needed some money for rent?
I haven't. Personally, I have a credit card, but I mean,
I don't have a credit card.
Oh, really?
I don't, and it's probably a bad thing.
You should get one. I mean, you need to start building credit. You need to build credit.
This isn't about my finances, okay? But I will say it is important. Wait, I'm getting off track. It's important to build credit.
My plan is working, guys.
He's targeting my finances to target my Spider-Man. But when they first meet, Dr. Ock is stealing money so he can fund the machine, so he can fund the materials and build it again.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man stops him. Spider-Man's able to try to stop him from stealing the money.
Yeah.
He still gets away with some, but it's a great fight.
And how does Doc Ock attack Spider-Man? With bags of gold coins, which they totally have in banks nowadays. Oh, yeah. Even in the early 2000s, they had nothing but just gold coins in the safes.
Well, I will admit, that's a bit silly. But these are an adaptation of comic books, aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
Comic books, they would throw bags of gold at someone.
Would they, though? Like, nowadays? Like
actually, they're also, I believe some of them are dollar bills, but most of them are bags of coins. I will admit that. And then he takes the old lady because, like, oh, Spider-Man wouldn't stop me if I threatened to hurt an old lady. He's like, oh, fuck, that's Aunt May. I need to save her.
Yeah.
And it turns into a great fight, especially on the clock tower. Shows the capability of Spider-Man's fighting style, both web and hand-to-hand.
Yeah.
Great fight. Second greatest fight in the movie. And then he saves Aunt May. Doc Ock gets away. Rhymes.
Somehow, yeah.
Because it's
not as if anybody would ever see a guy with metal arms coming out of his back running away, but yeah, okay.
I mean, come on. They had to continue with the movie. Like they wouldn't see a man with a giant bird on his back,
yeah, because he's flying so high. How could you tell? Especially at night. You only see him at night.
He's climbing on the buildings.
Yeah, you only see him at night.
True. But Doc Ock was also climbing on the buildings. Well,
during the day, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he also retreats to his lair, which no one knows about. Because it's that abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, the dilapidated warehouse that for some reason is just there.
We don't need to worry about New York's infrastructure in this, okay?
All the kids smoke pot out, yeah, okay. Anyways.
It's on an island. They can't smoke there. But continuing through the movie, it shows the difficulty of... literally never stepped in a bank.
Oh, yeah, you definitely haven't, you fuckboy. Anyways.
I have a feeling I know who Alien is. But continues through the awkward tension there is between Mary Jane and Peter.
Yeah.
Oh, I bared my heart for you and you just said no. Yeah, I still kind of like you, though. That's something that might happen. If you were faced with that situation, that's a believable sense of chemistry.
A situation where you're Spider-Man?
Yes.
Is that believable? Is that a relative situation?
If you were trying to protect the ones you love from something that could endanger them, yes.
I mean, everything can be relatable if you put your feet in the shoes of whoever you're watching. But the whole point of being relatable is that you don't have to do that. You just feel it on a level where like that person's going through what I'm going through, and I can relate. If you have to go through lengths just to relate to a character, I don't feel like you really do.
Is it really that much of a length to protect someone you love from something that might hurt them, whether it be physical or emotional or physical?
Yeah.
I said physical twice.
Physical, emotional, physical. Yes, I actually feel like it is kind of a length to jump through. Because specifically when you're talking about physical harm on somebody, it's different from emotional. So it's harder to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that is trying to protect somebody from physical harm as opposed to emotional harm. If you're watching a movie where somebody's trying to protect somebody from emotional stuff as opposed to physical, then yes, it would be a little bit easier for people to understand, because people aren't that bright and people need to be literally spoon-fed things. I mean, I can make the leap and see what you're trying to say, and I can relate to this Spider-Man, but most people can't.
But this also isn't just about being relatable. It is a big part. But the other part of it is him being Spider-Man. And that's something that's key to Spider-Man, is him trying to protect the ones he loves. And also hiding his secret identity, which this movie and Spider-Man 1 do pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike the Tom Holland movies.
Yeah, okay, there's a reason.
There is not a good reason for him, for everyone and their mothers to know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, except for at the end.
There's a good reason why, and I will get into that when we get to Far From Home, if we ever do.
We will.
Okay.
I'll continue with Spider-Man 2. So, Doc Ock confronts Osborn. Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the name. Harry Osborn on, I need the tritium. Give it to me. He's like, you can have it as long as you bring Spider-Man to me.
Ooh.
Making a dodgy choice just for personal gain.
Yes.
Showing his descent into not being a great person. And Doc Ock being like, I need to build this machine. He's like, okay, I'll bring you Spider-Man. Next begins the best fight scene in any Spider-Man live-action movie. The train fight.
Wrong. You're a loser. Low energy. Garbage.
If anyone disagrees with that, I'm sorry that you view that as a bad fighting scene. But that is the best fighting scene in Spider-Man. Starting with, they start out fighting on the near the train. They get onto the train. They're just duking it the fuck out. Like, Doc Ock's hitting him with the arms, and he's like trying to murder him or knock him unconscious.
Yeah.
And it also shows another time where Tobey Maguire shows the spider sense really well. Train's coming, he dodges back and clings to the train to avoid it.
Yeah.
Tom Holland got hit by a train. We can argue against that because there is a possible point.
There is a reason why he did.
There is a reason,
which I highlighted earlier.
But I'm gonna dunk on that reason later.
You're gonna dunk? Okay, Shaq. All right. Let's see if you can do it. All right.
Powder spray. But that fight is just amazing overall. From him fighting him on top of the train to him breaking the brake on the train and sending it forward. He sees ahead. He's like, oh, I need to stop the train or these people are going to get hurt. Hence one of the most iconic scenes of Spider-Man, the movies, him stopping the train. Him giving all of his power to stop that train. Causes a little bit of damage on some buildings, but it saves a train full of people from going and crashing and causing
that's
multiple deaths.
Very iconic scene, but these scenes are iconic because they were in the first series of Spider-Man.
It's also iconic because just the next part of it, they bring him in once the train stops.
Yeah, and they carry him back like Jesus or some shit, right? Yeah.
Because if he just saved your life, wouldn't you carry him like
Jesus? No, I would not.
You would not carry the superhero who just saved your life.
No. I would try to get him help, but I wouldn't carry him all like romantically
They set him down inside so he's safe, somewhat safe. Not about to fall off the train.
Well, yeah, bring him inside, but you don't have to carry him the length of the train to the conductor's, chambers.
He was in front of the conductor's chamber.
Oh, no, I thought he was at the back. Yeah, I did. You're right. But I wouldn't put... They carried him, 3 trains lengths down. Why?
They carried him into the first car.
It was a very long scene.
It was a bit into the first car.
It was very long.
But it was also showing kind of symbolism that New York supports Spider-Man as well. He's not just like the savior of the city. The city is part of him as well, and they help him.
Yeah. Okay. I can. Yeah, I see that.
He loses his mask during that. And they're like, he realizes that and then the citizens are like, don't worry. Your secret's safe with us. Because they respect Spider-Man that much. He saved their life. He constantly tries to fight to save their city. And that's an ideal version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The people love him because he is their hero.
Okay. I mean,
And that concludes the best fight scene of the movie. Of all of the movies. Then it moves on to Doc Ock grabbing Spider-Man and taking him to Harry Osborn. He realizes, Doc Ock realizes that Peter knows Spider-Man, and he takes Mary Jane. That was before this fight. Forgot to mention it.
yeah.
You believe I'm Spider-Man? I am Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay.
So once Harry unmasks him and says, "Oh, it's my best friend,
Yeah.
and also the hero I've hated."
Yeah.
Conflicting feelings.
Yeah.
Spider-Man breaks out, showing he is a strong Spider-Man. He was just held bound like that because he was unconscious.
Yeah.
He goes to save the woman he loves and that Harry cares about, and Harry still doesn't forgive him, obviously.
Oh, no,
because it was
definitely
a very
doesn't.
abrupt scene.
Yeah.
But he goes to fight Doc Ock one last time.
Yeah.
When he's building the machine. I will admit, the machine being stopped by being thrown into the river, little unconventional, but
I would say so. Yeah.
But physics isn't the strong point of these movies. Well, let's just go with that.
Yeah. I don't think any of them really.
Yeah.
I'd say Far From Home is the most physically. If you're talking physics, it's the most adaptable.
I'd say Homecoming more.
Homecoming more. Okay. No. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
So then he fights him one last time. And he tries to reason with him because he knows he's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he's trying to relate to the man, Dr. Octavius.
Yeah.
He says, this isn't what your wife would want. This is not, you're going to destroy the city. And in that moment, he realizes he's been letting the arms control him. He makes a change of heart and overpowers the arms with his own free will.
Yeah.
It isn't the most, it isn't the regular Dr. Octavius.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, Dr. Octavius just keeps being a bad guy.
Yeah.
But in times where Dr. Octavius actually becomes Spider-Man in Spider-Man's body, that's a whole different series.
Oh, yeah.
He has good in him.
Right.
And in this moment, he shows that he's going to save New York, even if it costs him his own life's work and his life as well. And he becomes a great person, which is a great end to his arc.
A heel turn. Well, a reverse heel turn.
Yeah.
A face turn of sorts.
Let's go with that. Then Spider-Man being unmasked, Tobey Maguire being unmasked, saves Mary Jane one more time. She realizes, oh, you're Spider-Man. And I love you, Spider-Man. And I love you, Tobey Maguire. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Tobey Maguire?
Do I love Tobey Maguire? Love is a strong word. I love very few things in life. I would say I appreciate his rendition of Spider-Man, and I respect him as an actor. Well, love, I don't know about love.
Alien. If someone saved your life and you robbed them, you're just a bad person. That's just plain and simple. But continuing on, he saves him, and then Mary Jane being already engaged because of prior events in this movie. The chemistry isn't as strong as Spider-Man 1, I'll say. But it had a good, happy ending for Peter Parker, because that's what a movie's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
She runs away from her wedding and shows up in Peter's apartment.
Yeah.
And I'm not even getting into all the side characters.
We don't have to get into Mary Jane. I can get into... I hate Mary Jane, just put on the record, but...
You just hate Kirsten Dunst.
No, I don't hate Kirsten Dunst. I think she's a very beautiful lady. I love her acting skills. I just think the character was written very poorly.
Spider-Man 3, I'll somewhat agree with that. But Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think they did a pretty good job. All right. And that ends my...
synopsis
for Spider-Man 2.
Okay, well, I will start by saying that the gentleman, I forgot his name, but who played Doc Ock, was a very well. He played Dr. Octavius very well. I respect that actor a lot for doing what he did. But that doesn't save the rest of the movie and that Spider-Man within that movie from any critique. Because there's a lot of things you can critique in that movie. From an enjoyability standpoint, he's not an enjoyable Spider-Man to watch outside of the action sequences. The action sequences are very, very well done. I respect them. I like them a lot. The train scene, yes, it's a great scene. Iconic. I agree. However, those scenes don't excuse everything else of the movie, because Peter Parker and Spider-Man are synonymous. They're the same, obviously the same character, but a lot of people think, okay, Spider-Man's one type of person and then Peter Parker's different. But there's a lot of things that overlap,
but not everything overlaps.
Yeah, not everything, but I still feel as though if you were a superhero, right? And even though you understood with great power comes great responsibility, and you were taking shit from your boss who's a pizza shop owner and a landlord who wants money from you who can't wait another day.
He was a month behind.
Sure, whatever.
And
fine,
it's New York.
Yeah, it's New York, so you gotta be fucking tough. You gotta be tough, not just in fights, but you gotta be tough in general. And this guy who I see on the screen is literally a guy that would just be broken in New York. Like, I don't understand how he could...
Because he does good deeds as Spider-Man, it keeps his hope and heart alive in the city.
Yeah, says who? That's never made clear within the movie. That's never made clear. When's that made clear? Show me when, or tell me when. When is that presented to us on screen?
In both Spider-Man 1 and 2, he's happy whenever he's saving people or trying to help people. He's like, oh, I'm Spider-Man. These people love me.
But is he happy, or is he just trying to save Mary Jane? Because it feels like every time it's always he's helping people, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's really he's trying to save Mary Jane because he loves her. It's not about the people. The people are just secondary
then what's the train
characters.
Scene?
Wasn't Mary Jane on the top of the train scene?
No. He was trying to find out where Mary Jane was because Doc Ock had, taken her.
Exactly. Why would he have been there if it wasn't for Mary Jane?
To stop Doc Ock anyways. Because, one...
Would he have been there, though? Would he have? I don't think so.
Yes, because he was confronting Doc Ock like, okay, you're running amok in the city. I have you now. Also, you also took Mary Jane, so I'm going to whoop your ass for that. And then once Doc Ock realizes he won't win this fight, he stops, he endangers the people on the train. He's like, I have to save these people. With great power comes great responsibility. I have the power to save these people.
Sure.
I will save these people.
But I think that a lot of the plots and everything's driven by Mary Jane. Like, everything. So if it's not for her, he wouldn't have saved almost anybody in the whole city. I just feel like every time somebody's in danger, she's also in danger. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to save Mary Jane. Also, yeah, I'll save you guys, but I really want to make sure she's safe. It's never just, I'm going to go. She's always involved. And that's a pivotal part of what makes Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
First movie, she's dangling for her life. And then he decides to save a little kid that would be crushed first.
Yeah, okay. Look, crushed by a hot air balloon.
Not by a hot air balloon, by a steel support that was under it.
Okay, that wasn't shown. I didn't see no steel support underneath the hot air balloon.
It was a steel-like arch coming down right for that little boy.
I don't remember that.
Because you weren't studying the movie.
I studied the movie. I watched it twice. That it was just a blimp falling down on this boy. Like, he would have been fine.
Blimp was causing other things to get crushed.
He would have been fine.
Also, those things are heavy as hell.
Are they, though?
Deflated.
Are they?
A giant, rubber balloon that's basically made of tarp coming down onto a child from the sky. That would kill that child.
Would it?
This kills the child.
Are you sure? I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. But anyways, going back, I really feel as though if it wasn't for Mary Jane, he wouldn't be Spider-Man in this movie. And it highlights it. It highlights it in every scene. With him being... Okay, when Mary Jane goes and tries to marry that other dude, he becomes so sad that he throws away the Spider-Man outfit.
That's also not just because he's so sad. He loses his powers.
Because he's sad.
Yes.
Because of Mary Jane marrying that guy.
Yes.
Yes. So exactly. That's exactly my point.
But she was still going to marry that guy when he became Spider-Man again. He threw away the suit because he didn't have that power anymore. He wasn't able to continue being Spider-Man, although he did try. He went into a burning building as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man, trying to save someone he could, saving a little girl. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to save someone that was on the 4th floor of that building. They mentioned that in the movie.
Yeah.
But he still, as Peter Parker, runs in and casts his own life aside to try to save someone. That's being a hero. Anyone can be a hero, and that's what Stan Lee emphasized at the end, like after the movie's over, his quote showing that any good you can do it because that's what it means to be a hero.
Well, yeah, of course.
And
I mean that goes without saying.
And then when he's Spider-Man again, he does everything he can to try to save the people he loves and the people of New York.
But Mary Jane is the catalyst for that.
I will agree with that. But it's his love interest. It's his childhood like neighbor essentially.
Yeah.
And it was like his true love essentially.
But that's why I feel like your argument for why New York being the New York is behind him and he's one with the city, I feel like that's not really true because at the end maybe the city feels that way, but
Spider-Man won.
But within him, he's like, I'm really here for Mary Jane. I'm making sure she's cool. Like, yeah, I'm glad you guys like me, but I'm going to make sure Mary Jane's fine before, like, anything else. So that's kind of where my priorities lie, which is kind of shitty, because if you're a hero,
if that's where his priorities lied, he would have gone after Doc Ock instead of saving that train.
No. Because at the end of the day, he still has to make sure that he maintains a positive outlook on the city. But he can't. I don't feel like
if
it's genuine.
If someone took someone you loved, say you were Spider-Man, someone grabbed someone you loved and ran off with them because they knew you were Spider-Man or you had something to do with Spider-Man, wouldn't you do as much as you could to try to save them, to not, like, because you felt responsible, because you felt guilty for them, that's the reason they were taken, because of you?
Yeah, them. I would save them, but if there were situations which aren't shown in the movie, it remains to be seen if other situations came up within this universe that weren't shown on screen, in which other civilians got hurt, or like other small minor villains were actually within the canon but just weren't on screen. It's kind of like Star Wars Legends, stuff like that, but just Spider-Man. Like, who knows what if he actually like would go out of his way for just the civilians of the city? I mean, I don't know that. Because
they showed that when we watched that earlier.
What?
He put saving people that were like in because of two carjackers with weapons instead of going to see her show. Instead of furthering his own, like, trying to get, like, be with Mary Jane.
Uh-huh.
They showed he has being a hero as his top priority.
Okay. I mean, I guess I am wrong in that sense. But I don't know. I just think still
Thank you, Dennis. That is true. That's the point of Doc Ock using Mary Jane against him, and he chose to save the people on the subway.
Yeah, he chose to save the people on the subway because he knew if he didn't, like, obviously, like, over 100 people would have died.
Yes. And he chose to save those people, even if it meant losing sight of Doc Ock and possibly losing Mary Jane.
Yeah.
That risk is ever present. As long as he has Mary Jane somewhere he doesn't know, there's a risk of her being hurt.
It's just everything's different about it. So, of course, they're going to be okay with death and exploring that theme, which I feel like Disney really has to do. They did it in Endgame, but they were really nervous about doing it.
They did it, but they pulled it back.
They were really nervous.
They only did it with like a handful of characters.
Yeah, they were really nervous about doing
like
it.
When this is off topic.
Yeah, just go for it.
But when Thanos just snapped Loki's neck, that was a big scene.
Yeah, that was
there was an actual death in the MCU that was taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like Yondu's death in Guardians 2.
Oh, yeah.
Great scene, because it was an actual death, and it was a meaningful death.
I agree.
Just like in Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock Going into the river, it's emotional because you cared for this character at the end because he lost everything. Now he's going to lose his life trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, all right. I just feel as though Mary Jane is the plight of this movie and keeps and holds Spider-Man back from really being Spider-Man, whereas she should add to it, but yet she takes and subtracts things away from the character.
I feel like it's the classic case of like damsel in distress, like Peter Parker and Spider-Man save the ones they love a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's a random civilian. Like, also, during the train scene, Doc Ock is throwing random people off the subway, and Spider-Man is saving them by catching them, making sure they're safe as well. Because Doc Ock's trying to throw them off his trail.
Yeah.
He cares for the people of New York, and they care for him. He saves people, and he is a hero. And that's why I feel he portrays the best Spider-Man. Because, above all else, he is New York's Spider-Man. New York's hero.
Sure.
And although he doesn't have as big of fights as, say, Tom Holland in Infinity War and Endgame, that's also because he had to do this on his own, with his own supporting characters.
Okay. No. You gotta stop. You gotta stop right there.
I gotta stop? Why do I gotta stop?
No, because that's not fair.
Because Tom Holland's got Nick Fury and Tony to be the backbone of the movie. To be the MCU, to hold him up to make sure he makes it into the limelight.
Oh my god. Okay, I need to save that for Far From Home.
We'll save it for Far From Home.
Okay.
And I'm gonna...
To respond to... let's see. Okay, Dennis, you say that's the point of Doc Ock using Mary Jane against him, and he chose to save people on the subway.
We discussed that one.
Yeah, we discussed that.
The balloon is 120 to 500 plus pounds, depending on the balloon.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll admit.
Game over for that.
Yeah, okay, that's a good...
Dropping from the sky.
It just looks harmless dropping down.
Because it's a balloon. It looks harmless, but if you were an ant, that looks pretty terrifying.
Yeah, Jake makes a good point. The guilt of his identity putting his loved ones in danger is a huge through line in the first trilogy. Sure, fine, whatever. You could give a point for Jake, but at the end of the day, he cares more about the people he loves as opposed to the city, which it should be one and the same. I really see that when I watch these movies. I really feel like he doesn't.
But is it what it tries? But what is it? But I don't see that. I see it as he's trying to make sure, like. Obviously, during the bank scene, he made sure Aunt May was safe, but Aunt May was also the only one in danger at that point.
Sure. Well, was she, though?
Yes, because she was hoisted up the side of a building.
Yeah.
And being thrown off that building by Dr. Octavius.
Yeah.
And he tried to catch some debris. He actually did catch something with one of the hands of the clock tower and flung it back at him. That was an awesome scene for a fight. But... We're getting back into why I love Spider-Man 2 and less into your rebuttal, so we'll continue on.
Yeah, you can... If you want to start 3, I got to go pee, so I'll be right back. If you want to start 3, I will hear you from here. Because
you can hear me from here?
I could probably hear you from here. It's right across
I'll
the
be
way.
a little louder just
That's
in case.
That's fine. I will listen.
Welcome to the Tobey Maguire Show with your host, Jacob Phillips. Yikes. But at least that was empty. For those that couldn't see it, probably could see it, some papers fell. So, Spider-Man 3, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man 3, I will admit, is the weakest in the trilogy, just because of Sony's own misfortunes that they put into it. One of the producers from Sony pushed for Venom to be in this movie. Sam Raimi has spoken on this and said if it was up to him, he would have had just Goblin and one other villain. Because that was all that it needed. At the addition of Venom into it, put too many villains into this movie. And that did hurt it. But, I will say, scene. And I'll get to that. So we start off, Tobey Maguire spending his time with Mary Jane because they're together now. She knows he's Spider-Man, and he knows she knows. And so they get together, they're spending their time together, he's working up the courage and working up the money to try to propose to her. Can't afford a ring because he's making a little bit of money at a time, which is also a big crux in the Peter part of his life. He continues on, and he talks to Aunt May, he's saying, I think I'm ready to propose to her. All the while, Mary Jane is realizing her time in the limelight is kind of fading. her Broadway, she's being kicked off her part in Broadway. The critics are a little bit harsher to her. And she's realizing that Peter's living in the limelight. Everyone loves Spider-Man, and he's not really paying attention to, like, her life coming down. Although that's also part of her not communicating it. But I'm not here for relationship advice. I'm here to talk about Spider-Man. So they continue on. They grow a little more distant without Peter knowing it. And on his way back with the ring from Aunt May's house, he's attacked by New Goblin. Harry Osborn taking up the mantle after he discovers his father's... Sandman is legendary. I never stated that Sandman isn't legendary. I said that Venom hurt this movie, not Sandman. And I apologize if I inferred that, or made it seem like that. But, New Goblin fight, it was a pretty decent fight. He's on a different type of board, so they use that different type of board to their advantage by having them fight. He knows it's Peter, so Peter's like just Peter Parker fighting him. Were you able to hear any of that?
Yeah, I was.
Alright. So, it was a great fight, I believe. And then they get into it.
Wrong. Garbage.
He pulls a trip line to smack Harry Osborn right in the head, giving him short-term memory loss because of a major concussion. Because even with the formula, you get hit in the head hard enough with some spiderweb flying at it, you're gonna get hurt.
Sure.
So they continue on. Harry's in the hospital. He doesn't remember anything. He just has recent memory. His father died, but his two friends are right there for him. And they're right there, right alongside him to make sure he gets better. Peter realizes he doesn't know that he is Spider-Man. So they become better friends again. And then Harry and Mary Jane...
Oh, how convenient. He just forgets the first two movies.
He learns it halfway through the second movie. He still remembers his dad dies and he doesn't like Spider-Man for it.
I don't know about all that. Does it?
I know about all that.
Okay, all right.
He just doesn't know that he had this. He also forgets that he had the serum because his reflexes are real good and he's stronger. And he's like, oh, what? I must have been working out or something.
Oh, yeah.
But then he realizes, he's talking to Mary Jane and realizes there's some problems with their relationship. And Peter doesn't know these.
Yeah.
So, it continues on. Peter then saves Gwen Stacy. He meets Brock Turner.
Topher Grayson.
The worst casting in all these movies.
He was not that bad.
He was pretty bad.
You think so?
He was pretty bad.
I think...
As the part of the reporter, no. As the part of Venom, yes.
I don't know.
Would you be able to open this?
Yeah, I got you.
So he meets Brock Turner, realizes he's competition, and then he starts using the black suit soon after this. But he saves Gwen Stacy, and then Gwen Stacy was like, since she's the police chief's daughter, she's like, I want Spider-Man to have a big ceremony because he's done amazing things for the city.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is the city's hero, and the city loves him.
Sure.
So he decides to go for it. And, being in the limelight's kind of intoxicating for Peter, which ends up in a stupid decision where he decides to do the upside-down kiss.
With Gwen Stacy, right?
That was a big mistake for Peter.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But, like we agreed earlier, Peter Parker and Spider-Man make mistakes.
Sure. I agree.
And then creates even more problems with Mary Jane, because this movie is mainly focused on their relationship till the fights.
Yeah.
All the while, Sandman's showing his story behind the scenes. He's a guy who got arrested for shooting Uncle Ben.
Yep.
It was an accident, we find out later.
Yeah.
And he's just really trying to go home and take care of his sick daughter and trying to
pretty emotional scene, really.
Yeah, and he's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's just a good dude. Like he says, I've just had a bad life. And he gets the Sandman powers and decides to use them for his own personal gain, like a lot of villains would.
Yeah.
And he has a run-in with Spider-Man right after the ceremony. They fight. He gets away. He's like, where do these guys all come from? Which is all these weird-ass people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just needed to get something to drink. I was dying over here.
Parched.
So it continues on.
Yeah.
He gets the like courage to like take Mary Jane to dinner and everything. And
courage. Okay.
he builds up the courage to ask her to marry him, Marco. That is a big step in anyone's life.
Okay, when a girl has been with you for like 3 movies, you should know by that point
They
that
were only together at the end of the second one.
if she stood up her own wedding to not fucking marry a dude and run to you, obviously you got something going. Obviously you're doing something right.
True. But any relationship, even no matter how good it's going, has its rocky moments.
Sure, I would not disagree.
And especially after seeing their kiss done by Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, she was a little upset and didn't realize he was going to propose. So that was just a bad scene for Peter overall. Showing Bruce Campbell again. Bruce Campbell's third appearance. Second movie, I didn't mention it, but he was the guy denying Peter into the movie theater for being late.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Yep.
His third appearance, which I'll get into later, why it was important that he was in all 3. So it continues on. He gets the black suit. He wakes up and he's like, what the hell is happening? First he realizes that Sandman was the actual murderer of his uncle. He's upset, and he's waiting for the radio signal to be like, oh, here this man is.
Yeah.
The black suit goes on him, and he's like, oh, this feels great. Because the black suit is supposed to feel amazing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to like enhance everything about the person wearing it.
Yeah.
And everything means some of the bad parts. As we'll get into in 2 different parts.
I wish I had a black suit. Part of me does.
Your hair is kind of looking like Toby's black suit.
It does. It very much does. I'm not going to lie. I need a haircut really badly, but I do.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's just you need to dance down the street.
I do. Yeah.
So it continues on. Harry starts realizing that he starts getting his memory back. He's like, oh, Peter is Spider-Man. He starts... I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. You almost got me. And then he goes on and he uses Mary Jane against Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man is still hunting down Sandman. And he meets Mary Jane after they hadn't talked for a while, and he says, and she tells him, it's over. I'm seeing someone else. At the threat of Harry Osborn.
Oh, no way. Again? She's seeing somebody else again? No way. It's almost as if she's not committed. I wonder. Is that a flaw in her character? No, definitely not.
But
no
Marco,
way.
let's think back for a second. Was she actually seeing someone else? No. Harry was threatening her and Spider-Man's life. She wanted to keep her and Peter safe. So, big plot hole for me here. She could have just been like, Harry's making me say this, and then they could have had another fight.
Yeah, I agree.
That's one minus for Spider-Man 3. There's a couple minuses, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
They continue on, and then he gets real downtrodden. The suit is amplifying that feeling of anger and sadness, amplifying it to the point where he goes, when he finally hears that Sandman's on the move again, he goes to him, and he's making sure he gets him. Starting another great fight scene, because if there's one thing that these Tobey movies have, is great fight scenes.
Yeah.
The fight scene inside the underground subway and everything, that was great.
With the Sandman? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Showing that he realized that he wasn't going to hurt him with punches since he punched through him earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
He slams him against a moving train just to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
No, you're good.
And he continues on, his anger growing and growing.
Yep.
Sandman's like, he's like, do you remember Ben Parker, the man you murdered? He's like, what does it matter to you anyway? And he says, everything! You felt that anger in that scene, and you felt that anger in that, and he goes and he tries to murder Sandman.
Did I, though? Did I really feel it? What do you think? Kind of. A little bit. Partially.
Partially. But he continues on, and he seriously just beating the crap out of him. Hence another train spider sense scene. He dodges a train.
Yeah.
Second train that Tobey has dodged. That's Tobey 2, Tom 0. He continues on and he uses water to flush Sandman away to get rid of him, thinking it might have killed him.
Yeah.
Then again, how do you kill Sandman? We don't really know.
Yeah, there's no real... Well, I know how to kill him. You just don't make another movie to explain it. That's how you kill him.
How dare you? I'll get on to Spider-Man 4, the child that should have lived, in the next part. But, continues on. His anger is still kind of flowing through, but he tells Aunt May that the man who did it is dead. Spider-Man killed him. Then May drops the bomb. Spider-Man wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And he realizes Spider-Man wouldn't do that. Still doesn't kill anyone, because he didn't actually kill Sandman. Then he goes on and he gets angry at Mary Jane, so he takes Gwen Stacy to the club. Well, first he has his dance scene downtown. After exposing Brock for a fake picture, getting the staff job, showing Brock's pain for the first part of his arc. Brock shouldn't have been in the movie. Did you hear that part of what I was explaining?
That Brock shouldn't be in the movie?
Yeah, that Sony producer pushed Sam Raimi to have Venom in this movie. They pushed him in it, and it should have just been Goblin and Sandman.
Yes, I agree.
So,
or just Goblin would have been pretty good.
Just Goblin would have been good, but I feel like Sandman was an important part with the black suit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Venom could have been easily 4.
Yeah. Venom could have been like an end credit scene. Starting up.
Yeah.
The scene in the church could have been an end credit scene.
I agree.
So, starting to lose my voice. So he continues on. He does the dance down the street, which I will say...
Dance down the street. He struts his stuff down the street.
Essentially. I feel like that scene's necessary. I feel like it's a good scene.
Look at this guy, dude. He's coming up with a bunch of excuses as to some of the worst scenes of cinematic history. What are you talking about? How is it necessary?
Because the symbiote amplifies the user's characteristics. Tobey is an awkward dude. An awkward dude that feels confident having the Spider-Man powers and senses. Wouldn't you think, being an awkward dude, he'd do something real awkward, trying to feel like, when he feels he's, like, feeling good, feeling cool? And if you notice in that movie, not all the ladies looking back are looking back in disgust.
Yeah, because it's almost as if it's a movie, and the director wanted him to seem cool in a way. He's not cool. He's a fool. He's a fool.
Then why did they have some look back in disgust if that was what he was going for?
Because obviously not all of them. It's not okay. This isn't the 1985 fucking version of like fucking like it's not a movie where in which he's gonna make the main character seem like super cool. This isn't like what's that movie? I'm trying to think of it.
The Fonz.
Huh?
The Fonz.
No, not the Fonz. Well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. The Fonz or like Back to the Future, where he's just cool and he's playing the guitar and everyone's like, oh my god, look at him playing guitar. Like, come on. It's not that movie. So obviously they're not going to make everybody look at him as if he's a weirdo, or everybody look at him as if he's like super cool. Like, I mean, come on.
I feel like
2007.
I feel like it still was necessary because it still showed like Peter's an awkward dude. The black suit will amplify everything of Peter's. Even his awkwardness, his power, his anger, his strength, his sadness, and him being a goofball.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
I will say it's a funny scene, and like I won't take it too seriously because it's fucking hilarious. But I feel like it was necessary. Then they get to the diner where he wants to hurt Mary Jane by showing off him and Gwen Stacy going to dinner. That was kind of a bad scene, I won't lie. Had some great moments in it. Some hilarious moments in it.
Yeah.
And then he ends up hitting Mary Jane, showing that his power is starting to hurt the ones he loves, both emotionally and physically.
True.
So he goes to the clock tower, or the church, and he wants to get rid of the suit. Alien, stay out of this. he decides this suit is bad. I need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And Brock, going to a church to wish for someone's death, shows he's not a great guy. He's praying to gods, hoping that Spider-Man or Peter Parker dies or gets beaten.
Oh, yeah, huh? Yeah.
Then the suit drips down on Spider-Man's self.
Yes.
And decides
OG.
to like continue being Spider-Man.
Yes.
But then actually before that,
No.
before all that, he goes to Harry Osborn.
Yes, he does. Yep.
He wants to confront him face to face one more time. Because Harry knows, he knows Harry knows, and Harry knows. He remembers again. Yep. That's a great scene, too. That's a great fight scene. Harry and him fighting inside the house.
Yeah.
Shows Spider-Man's close quarters capabilities, which he does have, because Spider Sense and his also superhuman strength is shown here.
Okay.
And it also has the great line, "Ooh, look at Gobby Jr. What are you going to do, cry?" Which you can easily say for Tom Holland as well. Iron Man Jr. What are you going to do, cry?
Well, yeah, you hit me with that GIF many times on Twitter in anticipation for this exact live stream. Anytime we brought up a good point, or anytime I would be like, "Can you just stop?" You'd be like, "What are you going to do, cry?" So, I mean,
put some dirt in your eye.
Yeah, put some dirt in your eye. Yeah, okay. Pretty good memes came out of that scene. Yes.
A lot of memes came out of the whole franchise.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
The most memed Spider-Man for sure.
Yes, I agree.
Homecoming had 2.
Yeah.
The Captain America, which wasn't even Spider-Man.
Okay,
and
come
then,
on.
And then the Robert Downey Jr. thing, which was half Robert Downey Jr. His memes needed support. His memes.
Okay, that's
this isn't
so
about the
weak.
memes.
That's weak. But anyways.
And so, continuing on, he basically ruins fucking Osborn's face with the grenade, since he's just like, I don't care.
In slow motion.
Because he still has the black suit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm tired of trying to convince you that I wasn't responsible.
Yeah.
He loses the suit, and then he's like, okay, I'm going to be Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
And then Sandman and Venom show up.
At the same time.
Well, they work together. They show them meeting, in an alleyway, we both want the same thing. We both want the spider dead.
But how do they even, come to know of each other at all?
Because Eddie Brock knew of Sandman already from being a reporter. And then he finds him using the Venom as, his source for finding him.
Yeah. Okay.
And he continues on. They endanger Mary Jane because...
Oh, of course, because they can't think of anything original to do. They're going to do everything that the past 2 other villains did, right? Of course.
I'm not saying Spider-Man 3 is the most original movie. I'm just saying it's still a great Spider-Man movie.
It's still a great... Appreciate that.
I'm also going to put it above Amazing 1 and 2.
Yes.
That's right, Carlitos. You heard me.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize that it was still a good movie and one of the highest grossing Tobey Maguire movie. 1, because inflation.
Yeah.
And 2, because people were excited. People loved Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, they were excited for the 3rd movie. They wanted to see what was going to happen next. Because Spider-Man 2, up until that point, was the best Spider-Man, or just superhero movie in general, that had come out. So, of course, people were excited. It makes sense.
So, continuing on, he goes to Harry later on because he's like, I need your help.
Yeah.
And Harry's still being upset that they just fought and almost killed each other. It's like, no. Then, another minus for this movie, I agree, Alien. The whole emotionally charged Harry Pete thing is cool.
Yeah.
Not Harry Pete, but Harry and Pete.
Harry Pete.
That's what they call me. But, the butler...
The butler.
The butler, this is another minus for the movie.
Okay.
The butler comes and he's like, the night your father died, I cleaned his wound. The wounds that pierced his body came from his own glider. You should have mentioned that. You should have mentioned that a little earlier.
Why would you have said that maybe 3 years ago? Why did
That's
you
that's one of the biggest problems of the movie, and I will. Besides Venom being in it at all,
Yeah.
and Topher Grace being Venom, Jesus. Yeah. But after that, Harry's like, "Oh, I need to go help Peter," because during this, Peter's fighting Sandman and Venom, and fighting two very strong villains at the same time. He's getting the shit beat out of him because no matter how powerful Spider-Man is, some villains are very powerful themselves, and he's just getting demolished by these two.
Yes.
And he just continues on, and like he's getting beat against the steel girder by Sandman.
It's pretty rough scene because he gets fucking
and everyone
he gets fucked up.
And everyone in New York is standing around like, oh no, this is hard to watch.
Yeah,
our hero Spider-Man is getting the shit beat out.
And there's nothing anybody can really do about it.
Yeah,
because he's made of sand.
And this is like their last hope because Spider-Man's the defender of the city.
Yeah.
And then Harry comes. Harry helps. Harry's like stops Sandman from beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Kicks Venom off of like holding him down and choking him.
Yep.
And together they team up and they like work together, which I'll admit Tobey Maguire didn't really work with any other heroes, but he worked with New Goblin. And that was
he
cool.
did. Yeah.
And I like when Spider-Man gets to work with other heroes. That's a big part of
that
Spider-Man as
yes,
well.
It is.
He's supposed to work with Luke Cage, Daredevil,
Deadpool.
Yep. But a lot of people in New York as well.
Yep.
So, continue on. It's a great fight scene. Sandman's a great part of that fight scene, and even Venom being Topher Grace, it's still a decent fight between him trying to save Brock from the symbiote.
Yep.
In the end, Topher Grace ends up killing himself. Brock ends up killing himself by going back into the symbiote.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, you're good.
They reduce Sandman to like stop fighting for a minute.
Yeah.
But also, Harry gets mortally injured from Venom, saving Pete, showing his full redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And then the anger of losing his best friend.
Yeah.
Gives him the strength to beat Venom. I feel like it was a good scene, even with Topher Grace being Venom. I feel like it was still good.
Yes. And
then they get to the part like Harry's dying. He dies in his arms. Spider-Man cries. I will admit, Tobey cries, but
a lot.
If you're going through these traumatic events, like having to save people's lives, seeing people die, you'd be crying too. Like, who doesn't ugly cry when their uncle dies?
No. That's excusable. Obviously, that makes sense.
And their best friend crying, he ugly cries. Everyone ugly cries. No one looks good crying. Unless you're, like, just tearing up.
Yeah, of course. But I just feel like that it goes back to the idea and the stance where Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is just... He's too emotional in the sense of, like, he's always sad, or somebody's always picking on him, or somebody's always messing with his emotions, whereas like Tom Holland, it's like Spider-Man versus villain, he has to stop villain, and
seems
this is his
robotic, don't you think?
Not robotic, no, I wouldn't say robotic. I would say he's very focused. I would say focused.
Emotional combat in Homecoming is, oh, my hopeful girlfriend's dad is a villain.
Yeah,
that and Daddy Stark won't let me out of the house with my Spidey suit.
Okay, that's just not fair to say, because, I mean, obviously, if you have a multi-billionaire person standing in front of you being like, don't do this, you're going to be like...
Steve Jobs can tell me not to lick butthole, and I will still lick butthole. That should not be taken out of context.
Yeah, well, I take it. That's going to be taken out of context. That's a new meme. Congratulations.
Steve Jobs, you stay away from my personal habits.
But no, I just feel like to go back to the third movie.
But he is a mentor. But we'll go back to the third movie.
Yeah. To talk about the third movie specifically, my problem with it, I mean, there are a lot of issues with that specific movie. But to keep it as concise as possible, I have to say that I just feel as though it is the weakest movie aside from Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which is something that you and I can agree upon.
Yep.
And aside from that, there isn't much to say other than I feel as though Sony and a lot of the studios really fucked up what this movie could have been. It could have been actually pretty good. The progression of Spider-Man up to that point was Spider-Man 1, looking back at it, pretty shitty. Spider-Man 2,
how dare you?
Spider-Man 2, okay, you're getting somewhere. Not perfect, not refined, but it's getting to a certain point where it could be pretty good. Spider-Man 3 was going to be that. And if Sony wouldn't have forced Venom into that movie, I feel as though it would have been the best Spider-Man movie because of just the emotional themes of Tobey Maguire and James Franco.
The anger and
yeah,
anger between them, and
because
that's sadness of loss.
That's the one theme that carried throughout the entire trilogy, where it was them. Like Mary Jane flip-flopped between a bunch of different dudes. She was all over the place. Really, Harry and Peter were
I will say, Spider-Man 3 showed her like that, but Spider-Man 1 and 2 was more like, a normal dating type person.
Yeah, I don't think 2 was that way. Maybe 1, yes, but not 2.
2, she moved on from the guy who rejected her love proclamation to someone that cared for her.
Moved on. She didn't really move on. If you
proclaimed your love for someone and still had feelings for them when you were at your wedding altar, wouldn't you be like, this ain't right?
No. Look, I'm a man of my word. If I'm giving you my word, dude, it means some shit. That's just me, though. Maybe a lot of people aren't, but that's just me. So I just feel as though Tobey Maguire and James Franco's chemistry and their relationship throughout the movies as Peter Parker and Harry Osborn was a key part of this movie. Could have been really good, but it wasn't. So
I still feel like it was strong. Just Sony's involvement in this movie weakened it.
Yes, and that's another thing that I'm going to talk about really quickly. This is not an attack on you, obviously, but I was asked before we started this live stream, why are we not talking about, or why, actually Carlitos, our resident Andrew Garfield stan, he was asking me, or he tagged you and I in a post on Twitter saying, like, all Spider-Man have their things that are good about them, and we should respect all of them. You disagreed with me on that. And I said that is inherently wrong. And this is why it's inherently wrong. Because you have to look at not only the studios and their intent with the Spider-Man and the roles that in which they played, but also you have to look at the relevancy. And with Andrew Garfield, the intent with his Spider-Man wasn't to make a good Spider-Man. It was to retain the rights to that character. And
Fair.
They didn't care. They didn't care what was on the screen, which we could talk about Spider-Man 1 or 2 till the cows come home about, what's his name? The Electro. We could talk about him. We could talk about the Lizard. They weren't really good villains. They didn't really do anything for the character.
Lizard was okay.
I don't think so.
Was an okay villain.
I don't think he was that good.
He was decently cast. That guy looked like he would be a doctor, like a scientist. I feel like Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, brought to the table, the possibility of diving into his parents, and also in Spider-Man 2, they dove into the possibility of the Sinister Six.
Sure, they dove into it, but I still think that the intent of the studio and the context behind that matters.
Yes.
And because of that, that's why I rule at Andrew Garfield. Because of the intent on why. Maybe the actors put in as much as they could, and I give them credit. But the studio matters, and they didn't really give a shit. They just wanted to make money, and they wanted to retain the rights. And then with Miles Morales and the animated Into the Spider-Verse, the best Spider-Man movie, I 100% agree with you on that. We don't have to debate that. But I think the relevancy as to our cultural climate that we have today, it's not as relevant. No one talks about that movie, even though it is the best Spider-Man movie. So that is why I don't feel as though they each brought their own things. Yes, to the hardcore fans, the people that respect Into the Spider-Verse, I agree. He's up there with Tom Holland, Tobey. You know, he's right there. He's the third one. But because people aren't talking about them, they didn't go watch the movie. Nobody really knows about that movie. You can't really sit there and say everyone's brought their own thing to it because not enough people have been exposed. So that's why I said I disagreed.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And you saw why I disagreed with that.
Yes, you disagreed with me.
To build off your point about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier in the stream that it was the lowest grossing movie. And it was.
It was.
Showing that how much money a movie makes does not show how good it is.
I agree. I definitely agree.
And some were trying to point out to me that Tom Holland's made the most worldwide. I don't doubt that.
Yes.
This movie, the world right now loves superhero movies, especially Spider-Man.
Because of the MCU. Yeah. Of course they're going to love it.
So just because it made more doesn't mean it's better.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. Definitely not.
Such as the case of Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
But I'll let you go back to Spider-Man 3 since we got into the subject of Andrew Garfield.
I had to go off on that tangent really quick because I didn't know another time we were going to be able to get in on that.
Yeah.
But so with that out of the way, going back to Spider-Man 3, I just have to say, I don't have a lot to say on this movie because everybody knows the gripes. Everybody knows what's wrong with it. They packed too many characters into this movie. They packed too many villains. You know, me being in 6th grade when this movie came out, I loved it because I wanted to see...
Bunch of villains.
Yeah, a bunch of bad guys. I love the bad guys. I wanted to be a bad guy when I was a villain. When I was a villain.
You were a villain? Order!
When I was a 6th grader, I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be Sandman. I wanted to be Venom. I wanted to be Doctor Doom in Ultimate Alliance on Xbox 360. I wanted to be those guys. So obviously, at that time, I loved it. But now looking back, not that great, and a lot of people realize that too. Could it have been great? Yes, I agree. I agree. It could have been very, very good, but it wasn't. Also, Tobey Maguire, I just feel his performance as Spider-Man in this movie just really showed that he was done with the character. He was just, I just felt like he was kind of over it. Like I could see, looking back and watching this again before this stream, there were certain scenes in which like his dinner scene with Gwen Stacy or lunch scene or whatever, you could just.
The diner scene?
Yeah, the diner
scene. You're
talking
about the engagement scene.
No, the diner scene. Where you see him talking and just the way he was presenting himself and his mannerisms gives off the vibe as if he just really was done being Spider-Man. Like he just was kind of over it. It felt like it was the end. Looking back with the scope and the context we have now, you can tell he was kind of over it, and everybody was kind of aware that this was the last movie, which kind of held everybody back a little bit more, which isn't anybody's fault other than Sony's. So you can blame a lot of the faults on this movie, like I said, to Sony. It's not the characters. It's just they all knew something that the people watching it didn't. So obviously they're going to act different. So
I addressed the bad parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'll admit, this movie isn't perfect.
No, definitely not.
But it doesn't mean it wasn't good.
Yeah, there's some good parts in every movie, even Sharknado 4. Like, there's some good parts to it, you know. Star Wars Episode 8 made more money than God, but it's still a steamy pile of diarrhea. Yes, I agree with you.
I didn't see it.
Really?
I didn't see it. Didn't want to.
Yeah,
I'm a Star Wars fan, but this ain't a Star Wars debate.
No. You don't have to watch that movie if you're a Star Wars fan. It hurts to watch that movie. In its entirety. It's really sad. So I'm glad you did not watch that because it is very bad. That movie makes Spider-Man 3 out to be like, I'm not going to say
Spider-Man 2?
No, I'm not going to say it's going to. Well, actually that might be right. Actually, you're right. Yeah. Spider-Man 2. It makes it out to be Spider-Man 2. That's a perfect comparison.
So it makes it out to be the perfect Spider-Man movie?
No. Okay, I take it back. As quickly as I qualified it, I took it back. But no, it just makes it look great. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to say about Spider-Man 3 before we go on to the final Spider-Man movie, Far From Home?
I want to say that a major comedic relief and the guy who wants Rent also played sort of a emotional, like a somewhat important role in Peter's changing for the worse when he was talking about Rent and Peter yells at him. He's like, he's a good guy. He's just going through something right now. But that's just because I love that character in the Spider-Man movies.
The guy with the rent.
Where's my rent? All right. And that is my synopsis of Spider-Man 3.
Okay. Good job. We did it. We went through all 3 Tobey movies. We finally...
Aren't you so excited?
Oh, my God. Gee, that was excruciating, but...
I loved it.
I know you did.
I still love it.
Jesus.
Now let's get on to the diarrhea that was...
Whoa! Okay, that is unfair.
It's a good movie, but I'm going to highlight why it wasn't a great movie.
The diarrhea, that is.
Diarrhea was a hyperbole.
Yeah, that's
more like a little bit of shart in your pants.
Okay. Far From Home, let me think. Everybody has been that kid in their lives where they see somebody that they really want to talk to and they really want to get to know and they really want to just like kiss, but you can't do it because of, multiple factors. Maybe somebody else is interested in them, they're interested in somebody else. There's a lot of different things that can factor into that. And Far From Home tackles that dilemma in a way that very few superhero movies can, because a lot of superhero movies start with a giant fucking like dilemma, the big problem where the superhero has to come and solve it, This movie starts out with a very simple problem. Peter wants to go on a trip after the events from Endgame and wants to just...
He really wants to go on that trip.
And he really wants to just let loose with his friends and have a good time and kick it and chill in Italy and in France and all these other places, Belgium, Holland. He wants to go and just have a good time. That's all he wants. Because he was basically blipped from existence. Right? For like 5 years, and he didn't know that he was. So, with that in mind, everybody can relate to the dilemma that Spider-Man has. He wants to be with this girl, MJ. Or, what's her name? Michelle
Jones.
Michelle Jones.
Which, I applaud them for going different with the character, and they did it pretty decently.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
They didn't do it in the first movie, though.
Yeah, they didn't. But, I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was just thinking, like, everybody's been in that situation where you wanted to be with somebody, you want to talk to somebody, you haven't been able to, there's obstacles in the way, and you're just trying to get from point A to point B, right?
Weren't you just roasting Tobey Maguire because he was too nervous to decide he goes away?
Yeah, but if you're a logical adult, you would realize that you're not in high school anymore, and you can go and talk to literally anybody and hit on anybody and ask anybody, literally anybody you want out that you see that doesn't live with you, and you won't have to see them ever again. So if you go and ask some random girl out at like a random club, you're not going to be like, yeah, you get rejected.
But Mary Jane and Michelle Jones aren't just some random girl.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's the difference. If you run into Mary Jane, not Michelle Jones, but the Mary Jane from the original trilogy. If you see her in the street and you're Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, and you go up to her and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? How's your acting? Blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it, you ask her, hey, you want to go out to lunch? You want to go grab dinner? What's the plan? I want to do something with you. I like you. And if she says, no, that's not going to happen. Okay. You're done. That's the end of the road. Whereas in high school, you ask a girl out. She says no, and everybody else in that school knows that you asked her out and she rejected you, and you're a fucking loser. So that's the key difference. The community and the environment that high school has is a key difference between the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So to continue from that, everybody's been in that situation where you're in high school and you want to talk to somebody and you like them a lot, but you can't make a move because you're nervous about what everyone else is going to say. And that is why it makes for a perfect Spider-Man movie, because he's constantly trying to talk to her. He's constantly trying to make moves, but he can't because he has to deal with Mysterio and with Nick Fury and with all these other things happening. And all he wants, at the end of the day, all he wants is to ask Mary Jane out and give her the necklace. Oh, you're cracking your knuckles. Okay.
Yep.
All he wants is to ask her out and give her the necklace that he bought for her and ask her if she could be his girlfriend. That's all he wants. It's literally it. So that's why it's so successful. The fight scenes are pretty entertaining. The villain, since we've been talking about villains, the villain of Mysterio is, just like Vulture, pretty steeped within the MCU lore, in the sense in which Tony Stark has a lot to do with that villain. He's the reason why Mysterio is Mysterio, and why that team of people helping him do the illusions are helping him do those illusions because Tony Stark fucked them over and called his invention barf, which is really cool if you think, like, looking back to Civil War, how far back that stems. Oh shit! How far back that stems? Like, nobody else would have thought to do all that, but like, I didn't see any theories online as to the specific, like, plot of Spider-Man or anything like that. But yet, Marvel came up with something that was super unique and original that nobody else thought of, that nobody else thought to tie everything back together. So,
ooh.
What's ooh about it?
I'm saving it for the rebuttal.
So, without further ado, I just got to say, this was my second favorite Spider-Man movie outside from Far From Home. I don't think it's quite as good as Far From Home, but I think it's pretty good.
Homecoming?
Homecoming, yeah. And
it's all good. Where you have so many names.
I know, there's just so much shit.
See, mine's just 1, 2, 3. It's easy shit.
Yeah, I just think it's a great Spider-Man movie. It is super relatable for anybody. You don't have to watch the previous Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, to watch this movie and enjoy it. With the first two, or all the Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi movies, you had to watch the previous movies to understand what was going on. With this movie, you could just straight up pop it in your DVD player or stream it wherever or watch it in the movie theaters, like our very good friend Abbott did. I don't think she watched Homecoming, but she watched this and she loved it. She enjoyed every second of it. And yeah, I feel like that rings true to a lot of people. It's accessible. And Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job portraying Mysterio.
I'll agree to that. He did a great job
as an illusionist, and I just wish, like I said on the closing out the week about a month ago, I wish that they would have gone a little darker, which you disagree with.
I disagree with.
But I wish.
I'll get into that after my rebuttal.
I just wish that they would have gone a little darker with it. He could have played some crazy illusions on Peter Parker that could have totally challenged him and could have made him grow more as a character. I don't think Tom Holland is perfect in any sense, but I think he's the best Spider-Man we have to date. So without any further ado, here's Jake to rebuttal everything I just said. So go ham. Have fun.
Spider-Man Far From Home has some flaws. Has a couple flaws. Has more than a couple flaws.
Okay.
There are three unneeded parts in that movie. First one is Nick Fury and the other agent driving to the Mysterio and Spider-Man fighting the giant fire demon fight. That is just an ad placement. That they interrupted a fight to put it in. They interrupted a fight for an ad placement. But a couple of these are about the movie. The second one, the romance rival, completely unneeded.
Oh, the older Asian dude?
Completely unneeded. Just could have dropped that from a movie and it would have been fine.
I don't think so.
And I'll get into that when I'm stabbing at the movie.
Continue. You're good.
The third part was Flash Thompson's mom not showing up, his mom not showing up.
That was heartbreaking.
No, it wasn't. I hate that kid, and most people do because he's just a terrible character.
You didn't feel bad for him how he was like put on the sideline throughout the entire movie. He was just vlogging, and then you realize like, oh, he's vlogging because he has nobody else in his life.
No.
Yeah. Well, Jake, maybe you're the chaotic evil and I'm the lawful good. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe you realize...
No, because being an awful person to others doesn't excuse you having mommy and daddy problems because they're rich.
You're correct. However, I disagree because this is a movie.
True.
And in the movie,
True.
they want you to feel that way, and I definitely did.
They want you to feel bad for him? No one I've talked to besides you has felt bad for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Who else have you talked to?
Poen, Christian, Carlitos.
Wow. Nobody felt bad for him. I felt bad for him just because, like, when you're a dick to somebody, it usually is a reason. There's a reason behind it. It's not just because...
Doesn't excuse the half attempt at bullying.
Sure. Half attempt.
So, throughout the movie, I will admit the chemistry between Michelle Jones and Peter Parker is better than the romance they attempted in the first one. That one was just, I have a crush, I asked you out to homecoming, and then I had to leave you because I fought your dad. While in this movie, he was trying to keep it a secret, although every single person knows who Peter Parker is that's important to him. Except for Michelle Jones halfway through the movie. And that's one thing that's a core to Spider-Man is he keeps his identity a secret, especially from Aunt May, especially from Mary Jane, especially from like half the people that he knows.
Yeah.
I will admit, the only person he really let it slip to was Ned,
yes.
Aunt May, and Michelle Jones.
You have to admit, Ned is a great character.
Ned is a great character. He's a great supporting character. Him and Michelle Jones are the strongest supporting characters that are Spider-Man, Tom Holland's characters.
Yes.
But I feel like where this movie and Spider-Man suffer is this movie's theme. I want to go on vacation. I don't care if the world dies. He straight up says, like, Nick Fury says, this, Jake Gyllenhaal is Mysterio, and Nick Fury both say, this is a grave danger to the planet. If we don't stop him here, it's the end for human beings. He says, I just want to go on vacation, man. I want to go talk to the girl I like. I want to go make sure I'm up on top of the Eiffel Tower and give her this glass flower I got as a grand gesture of my emotion without having any confirmation that she's interested. And I feel like that's a big stab at Peter Parker's character because the main part of being Spider-Man is with great power comes great responsibility. And with such a big life-threatening thing like that, I understand you just got out of the fight of your life with Thanos. But Jesus, the world's in danger again. Or it seems to be. Have some sense of urgency when you are literally a superhero and the others aren't available. He says, like, oh, he's got it, especially when I give him these glasses. That is the stupidest thing he's done, was hand over the glasses to someone he doesn't know that his mentor that died gave to him. Also, Mysterio, they did pretty well with the concept in a new modern time.
Yeah.
But he was a better version of Iron Man 3's villain. Tony Stark rejected his ideas, he got upset, and he was an Iron Man villain, essentially, that wanted to take it out on Peter and the world because Iron Man called his invention barf. My feelings got hurt because you called it barf. I'm going to be a superhero and murder people. While the Mysterio in the comics is an illusionist, and he's an alchemist, and he's a machinist who wants to frame Spider-Man, he actually knows hand-to-hand combat, and that's something that this Mysterio suffers with.
He has no martial arts skills.
He has no skills except for illusions.
Yeah.
And while those illusion scenes were great, like some of the best scenes in that movie were when he shows him the first illusions of Iron Man dead and everything, and the best scene in that movie where he makes the illusion of the Dark Hall and Peter has to use his spider sense. That scene though shows the flaw with the spider sense they have Tom Holland with. I understand if he's rattled after the events and that might cause a weird thing with it.
Yeah.
But it clearly shows that he still has spider sense somewhat. So the illusion even being there should have warned him of the train coming to him. And that he gets hit by halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
But I'll excuse that for the sake of him being emotionally rattled. What I won't excuse is Tom Holland shirking off saving the world because he has a crush and wants to be on vacation. That is what killed that movie for me, because Spider-Man's supposed to be a hero, and he's supposed to want to save people and the world, where this Tom Holland, even though he's not in New York, he's not New York's hero in this, he still needs to step up.
Yeah.
And that's where this movie suffers.
Yeah.
I'll excuse Mysterio not being good at hand-to-hand.
Yeah.
I'll excuse possibly the ad placement in the middle of a fight. Jesus. Marvel, come on, be a little more subtle. Disney, don't you have the money to not need that many ads?
I know, yeah.
But I won't excuse that major flaw in the movie.
Okay.
And that's what kills Tom Holland's Spider-Man in that movie. And that's what kills that character for me being an amazing Spider-Man. But as far as the rest of the movie goes, the love interest seemed real. There was real chemistry, it seemed.
There was a lot more.
The swinging around scenes were pretty great.
Yeah.
Especially when he's going drone to drone and using all different types of web with the suit he created.
Yeah.
But there's a lack of actual fights. There's a lack of the villain being he starts to lose himself a bit when he's threatening to shoot his camaraderies, or his friends.
Yeah.
But he just seems like a disgruntled Apple employee. And that he seems more like a Tony Stark villain than upset at Spider-Man. Spider-Man's more just in his way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like Vulture, but Vulture's a good guy just trying to make it by.
Yeah.
And that's what makes his character a lot better.
Yeah.
But, getting on to my next point, J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, boy. Okay. I didn't even...
So, in Spider-Man Homecoming, the mid-credits scene, J. Jonah Jameson is reprised by J.K. Simmons reprises the role of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes.
And he comes back to be that character because he is the best J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes.
My hair-spraying attempt isn't anywhere close.
I feel like you would be... If J.K. Simmons died tomorrow, you would be the guy they would call.
Maybe they'll call me for Miles Morales. Hopefully. Marvel, give me a call, please. I won't bash on your ad advertisements anymore. But they have him expose Spider-Man as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
There's two things I have a problem with it.
Okay.
And one thing I do like about it.
Okay.
I'll go with the good first.
Okay.
It's a new direction. They don't do that often. They've never done it in the movies, so they're taking a risk. And I'll applaud to that.
Yeah.
First bad thing.
Yeah.
They made even less of an attempt at trying to hide his identity. They made an already weak part of the series even weaker.
Yeah.
And then after that, J.K. Simmons, knowing that he's Peter Parker, will never have the interactions with Peter Parker being a Daily Bugle reporter as, say, Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire would have.
Yeah.
And that just eliminates J.K. Simmons as a big character and makes him a Alex Jones character on the side. And J.K. Simmons is supposed to be an angry Peter's boss.
Yeah.
But he's also supposed to be like, he hates Spider-Man, and Peter's in that awkward spot like, oh, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, but yet I want money and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why J.K. Simmons won't be a big part. And that's unfortunate
Yeah.
Because J.K. Simmons being Jonah Jameson was an amazing part of the Tobey Maguire franchise.
Right.
It helped those movies a good amount.
Yeah.
And it also stunts Tom Holland's Spider-Man's story a bit. It stunts the classic story of Spider-Man. But I popped that off accidentally.
No, you're fine.
While we're on the subject of Spider-Man, in general, the MCU shows that it gave this movie a backbone again. Nick Fury, technically not Nick Fury, but Nick Fury, being there like 50 to 60% of that movie showed that Marvel, although they're giving more to Tom Holland to try to give, they're still providing that backbone support that that Spider-Man's own supporting characters can't provide. Like, he can't stand with his own characters alone. They're still giving Marvel's the reason these movies are doing even better.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, the villain as well.
Yeah.
And also, another unneeded scene that Peter should have saw immediately as, oh, I did something stupid, was selecting his love's rival as a target, controlling Tony Stark's weapons network. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, I can see the genuine mistake, but you would be like, oh, stop it immediately. No, he's not. Would you consider him a target? Yes. Are you fucking kidding me? Tom Holland, you have portrayed an intelligent he plays a smart Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not a wise Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is kind of Spider-Man. So I'll excuse possibly that.
Yeah.
But Marvel still is the backbone of these movies.
Yeah.
And they're not giving Tom Holland the reins completely yet.
No, they definitely haven't.
And that stunts that movie. It also stunts Tom Holland's character.
So you feel as though this was the movie in which they should have just given the reins over to him. They shouldn't have held anything back.
Yes, because he's not New York. He's not near any of the other superheroes. He's in a whole different environment. He should have tackled this on his own. He should have to tackle this. And he should have taken down the villain the best he could. Which he did take down the villain the best he could.
Mm-hmm.
But that villain originated from other parts of the MCU. I understand trying to like have continuity in it.
Yeah.
But give Spider-Man his own villains, please. Vulture was his own villain. That's why I like the Vulture a lot in that movie. Yeah. The Shocker, Scorpion, those were technically his own villains that were in Homecoming.
Yeah, they were.
Give Spider-Man his own villains, especially since it's Mysterio, a pretty bit. One of the Sinister Six.
With the cigar. Spider-Man his own villains, man.
I want villains for Spider-Man. But I feel like that's like a big part that hurts this franchise, especially for Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And especially for his Peter Parker.
Yeah.
It's that, of course, Peter Parker is doing his thing, but he's not doing all of it. And sometimes Spider-Man needs to be the one that's doing it.
Yeah.
And the major thing for this movie that kills it, I want to go on vacation. I don't care if the world dies. That is my biggest thing with this movie and with this Spider-Man.
Okay, let me respond, because I've been on the silence for long enough.
Yeah.
The reason why he doesn't give a shit if the world dies, okay, is because of the same argument I said in the beginning, wherein which they're going at his own pace. And wherein which, look, this guy just helped save the world from the biggest threat that this world has ever seen, Thanos. The universe has ever seen. He's tired. He wants to just hang out with his friends. This dude literally blipped back like a month ago, and he doesn't want to fucking deal with it. And there's another hero in Mysterio, who he believes is a hero, who can deal with it. So he's like, you know what? Look, I'm on vacation. This dude Mysterio looks very capable. He's got it. I believe in him. He's won me over. Is he a fool? Yes, he's a fool. Is he a kid? Yes, he's a kid. Is he naive? Yes. But if Mysterio was just straight up the villain and Spider-Man turned away from everybody and was like, yeah, no, I'm not helping out. I'm just, I don't give a shit. I would agree with you. But because Mysterio fooled Peter Parker into thinking he was a hero, that's the difference right there. And that's why...
I gotta interrupt here. What is the difference between Mysterio just being the villain and a giant lava monster that could consume the Earth being the villain?
Because Mysterio has shown that he could handle all the other elementals.
Because I'm pretty sure they asked Spider-Man to help Mysterio.
What do you mean?
Nick Fury and Mysterio both asked for Peter Parker's help.
Yeah, they helped.
And he wanted... I want to go on vacation.
Yeah, because he was like, look, it looks like you guys got it. I believe in you guys.
Lazy excuse
for
him to give up the glasses.
Yeah, because he's a kid. He's a little kid. He's like he's 16. Okay, he would have been 21 by this point, but he blipped out of existence. So he's actually still 16.
True.
He's still 16.
He's still young.
Yep. So he made a stupid decision. One mistake that he will never make again. I bet you anything. And if in the next movie he makes...
Of course he's not going to give up the glasses again.
Well, no, not the glasses. I mean, leaving his post as an Avenger. Like, Tony Stark made him an Avenger. He gave him the glasses. He wanted him to take the mantle of the Avenger. That is not a mistake that Tom Holland will make again. If he does, we can have another debate, and I will tell you how right you are about this movie. But right now, there's no way to know.
The fact that he made that mistake, though, is such a big detriment to his character.
I don't think so. You're a kid.
I don't care how old you are. Shazam is a child, and he knows to save the Earth when he has to.
Oh, no, he's not. He's not a child.
Yes, he is. He's a kid that turns into Shazam and fight. This is a DC character, but he knows that he's supposed to fight when, like, evil is there. Sure. Or something endangering the people he cares about.
Sure. But we're talking about Spider-Man.
True, we are talking about Spider-Man, but Spider-Man has a saying that pertains to this.
Yes. Yeah, responsibility.
Great power comes great responsibility, and I'll put Spider-Verse's thing on this that he hears it all the time, but Tom Holland doesn't. The Peter B. Parker is like, don't say that to me again. I mean it, because he's heard it too much. But Tom Holland has not heard that, and it's a detriment to his character because he needs to realize that. And that's a big part of Spider-Man.
And I understand. But like Alien says, they're grooming him to lead the Avengers, and the mistakes are part of the learning process. He's learning. He was blipped out of existence for the entirety of Endgame. So those 5 years of where everyone is grieving, the learning. Look, even Iron Man, Captain America, all those Avengers, they all made mistakes too. They all fucked up.
Yes, and their mistakes had dire consequences, like losing half the people in the universe.
Exactly. Which is why he is not immune to making mistakes as well.
True. But making a mistake and voluntarily turning away to go on vacation are two different things. And I will admit they're grooming him to make the leader of the Avengers, but that shouldn't be the role Spider-Man has.
You don't think so?
Spider-Man's supposed to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's supposed to be a solitary hero that also can be part of a team. Spider-Man is not Iron Man. Spider-Man is not Captain America. He's supposed to be Spider-Man, and they're grooming him to be Iron Man.
No, they're not. They're not. Because Iron Man had nothing but money behind him to fund his superhero shit.
Tony gave him everything from the Stark company, in a pair of glasses. And Peter Parker,
Yeah.
bunch of drones, connection to the network to every satellite.
Yeah.
He can find out anything he wants with those glasses. He just handed him a Game Shark of real life. And what does he do? I don't want this. I want to go on vacation. Oh, no, he needs it to delete a picture of him in his boxers, and he almost kills the guy doing it.
Again, he is a kid, and he makes mistakes. When I was a kid, I made mistakes.
When
a
I
lot
was
of
a kid,
mistakes.
I made mistakes, but none that dire. None
Of course
that,
not.
None that blatantly
'Cause
stupid.
neither of us are Spider-Man, even though I look
I
pretty
am
good. I look pretty good
Spider-Man.
as Spider-Man. But I'm not Spider-Man. And, like, nobody has that type of responsibility. So it's just different. But he's going to learn. I bet you anything in the next movie, he's going to prove you wrong. He's going to show.
If they show him being the Spider-Man that I'm envisioning, he knows to take responsibility, he knows how to fight close up with his fists, how he knows how to be the hero, I'll be happy with it. And I'll gladly say he's better than Tobey Maguire.
Wow.
But
I can't wait for that day.
since they decide to make stupid decisions like have him ignore his superhero mantra, having him hand over Stark Industries to a guy he met a week ago, just shows that he's making excuses for him wanting to be lazy. For him not wanting to be what he needs to be, which is Spider-Man, a hero, someone that steps up when times are tough, even if they're tired. Such as Captain America, I can do this all day, even when he's got the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.
I'll admit, he was blipped out, probably has some PTSD from that. And that's why the vision was so shaking. That's why I'll excuse the train hitting him.
Yeah.
But I won't excuse him just turning away from saving people.
Yeah. That's where we disagree. I think that he, turning away from saving people, he thought that there was somebody else that could save him. Is he a fool for thinking that Mysterio was a person that could save everybody else? Yes, he is a fool. He was a dumb character in that instance. But is he off the deep end? Past saving? No, I don't believe so.
I don't think that either. I think they could do really well with him in the future movies if they do it right.
Yeah.
But Far From Home showed that they didn't do it right.
And I think they did because of that. I believe they did. I believe they did pretty well because they showed a relatable Spider-Man that everybody who has responsibility doesn't want to go along with those responsibilities. I don't want to go to work every day whenever I have a shift. I hate it. And if I can find a way out of it, I most likely will because I'm human and I don't want to deal with it because I just want to fucking lay in bed and just relax. And that's what this Spider-Man captivated, and that's what he is at his essence in this specific movie.
But the difference between avoiding work just because you don't feel like it and saving the world because you don't feel like it. I see, Dennis, you caught the Game Shark reference. Saving the world because you didn't feel like it are two major different things, and Spider-Man is supposed to help save people. And if he did throughout half the movie because he was basically forced to because his love interest was in danger. Catalyst. And his schoolmates were in danger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's not an accurate comparison comparing work to saving people. Especially if you're Spider-Man.
Of course not. I'm just talking about the relationship. The relation between ordinary people and a superhero. People can relate to that. But, that's just me, maybe. I don't know. Maybe everybody else will agree. I don't know. But
that's just my main gripe with Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Okay. And I respect it. I respect it a lot. So it looks as though we're ending the end of the stream. Is there anything else you want to say before we go about Tom Holland, about Tobey, about Andrew, about Miles? Anything you want to say?
I feel like in terms of Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire embodies the hero that he's supposed to be and the awkward guy he is. And even though some of his emotion comes out flat in terms of his Peter acting, the fights and like the actions that his Spider-Man shows overwhelm that to the point where he is the best Spider-Man. And for Tom, you're still a great Spider-Man. Still love the movies. They looked amazing, but what they made up for in visual effects, they lacked in fighting and the actual essence of Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, decent Spider-Man overall, have some major flaws with the spider sense in his movies.
Yeah.
And that's also some of the villains in his movies. So that's why he's the third live-action Spider-Man in terms of my ranking. Miles Morales Spider-Man, interesting character. Don't know as much about him as I do, say, Peter Parker or Scarlet Spider. But they did a great job with his movie. They did a great job about Peter Parker in that movie, both what could happen and what happened to him. They even said that the perfect Peter Parker was the one that did the dance, which would be Tobey Maguire. But
what? Okay, no. That's... Okay, anyway, sorry.
But I feel like Tobey Maguire envisions what Spider-Man is supposed to be. A hero first. No matter the consequences with his or complications with his personal life. Whether it be school and his love life or, say, a vacation.
Yeah.
And I'll end on that note.
Okay. Last thing I will say. I respect Tobey Maguire. And I respect the movies. As much as I love to hate on him just because it's an unpopular opinion within my friend group. I respect the movies. I understand that at the time that they were relevant and that they mattered and that the movies that as they are now were pretty good. And to this day, I feel like Spider-Man 1 does not hold up. Spider-Man 2 is alright. Spider-Man 3 is bad. But at the end of the day, I respect Tobey Maguire's performance and I understand and respect Jake's arguments. And I agree with some of them. However, I must say that Tom Holland, as his essence, as the type of Spider-Man, is the person that Stan Lee was envisioning when he was creating the character and writing him. And there isn't anything else that can really beat that. Because he admitted it himself when he passed away.
He wasn't the only one who made the character.
Well, yeah, of course not.
He's just the face of Marvel.
Yeah, of course. But that's still, like, I know Steve Ditko had some things to do with him and all that stuff.
And Steve Ditko and Stan Lee were both producers for the first Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 1 and 2.
But Tom Holland was like, 5 when the first Spider-Man came out. So obviously they weren't going to be able to get the perfect Spider-Man to be in there. No, they didn't though, because Tom Holland was 5. Tobey Maguire was in his like late 20s, early 30s at the time. He looked like an undercover cop. But I just got to say, these movies, the Sam Raimi ones, are not total garbage, as like I've said in the previews and everything. And I respect everything that Jake has had to say, but I just feel like Tom Holland is the best one because he is the most relatable, he's the most fun to watch, and he embodies specifically what the creator of the character, or the creators of the character, envisioned when they were creating the character. So that's really all I got to say about it, and I hope that obviously we didn't come to a victor. There wasn't a winner in this debate because, like most debates, we just highlight the arguments on both sides. So
it's up to you,
it's
the
up,
viewer.
Yeah, it's up to you guys to decide who won. Comment or DM either me or him to say, hey, I loved your arguments the best, Dennis, or whatever.
Toby was the 21 Drum Street of Spider-Man. The undercover cop.
That's true. That is very true. I agree with that.
Peter.
Peter. All right. But yeah. So I think that's the end of this stream. Thank you guys for watching. I know some of you watched the entire time. And for those of you who did, you are fucking amazing. I love you so much. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast, on Facebook at Closers Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching it right now, obviously you would be, unless you're listening to the audio, where in which we are the Closers Podcast on YouTube. So subscribe so you don't miss any other live streams. We are doing another live stream in 2 weeks, where in which Max, the President Thogmartin, and Andrew, the DM Gale, and Jesse, the crackhead Salinas, he's a first-time guest on the pod. They're going to come on, and they're going to eat some hot wings.
Already some Toby cheer in the chat.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to eat some hot wings, and they're going to talk about, or they're going to eat some hot wings, and I'm going to be the DM, and they're going to do a one-shot in D&D, and they're going to die on camera. It's going to be so funny, and I cannot wait for that, because that's like the first comedy-centric podcast I'm doing, and I'm so excited to do it. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. He might be in the background like commenting, because he's in the D&D group too, but he's not going to be on the camera. But he might be in the background just like laughing or something. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Yeah, there's going to be Jib. He's a promoter from Sacramento who runs a music venue, house venue out in Sac, who I'm going to have on in about a week from the time that you're hearing this. If you are listening to this on Monday, he's going to talk about his experience running a music venue and all that stuff. So be sure to tune in on that on just the normal Closers Podcast, Closers Podcast stream or Closers Podcast feed. And yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to do more of this stuff in the future. Me and Jake will probably be on more streams because I feel like you guys enjoyed it a lot, and we're both very charismatic, I feel like. So, yeah. Thank you, Jake, for coming on. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to all the Toby fans, and thank you for putting up good arguments.
Yeah, you're welcome. And now it's pizza time.
It's pizza time.
It's pizza time. All right, bye, guys.
Peace.